On a scale from 1 to 10, my friend, you're fucked. In lack of other words, I'd say you're fucked. You are, as they say in Japanese, fucked from the head down to the knees. I am sorry to inform you, you are fundamentally fucked.
But people will forget as time goes by.
You're fucked.
What if I tell them that it was some other guy?
Still you're fucked. I don't think you understand by far how completely super fucked you are. You are Hitler in the bunker fight. Hey! You're fucked! So fucked! There should have been a moral here, should it not?
You are super duper.
I can think of anything besides your fuck.
My God, you are fucked.
You are F-U-C-K-E-N-D. That spells fucked if you're too fucked, you see. So don't you ever drink and drive, my friend, unless you wanna go to jail and get fucked again. You are absolutely super fucked. You're fucked.
I haven't seen, going kind of back in the catalog. Let me. Okay, well, that's good. Okay. Turn that down. Okay. Let's watch some weird shit. Probably by myself. But here we are, I guess. Gotta go back into the planetarium tomorrow. Should be fun. School starts, I guess. Yeah. I like the song. Does school start tomorrow? I don't know. Maybe it's like the get ready week or what. I don't know. I'm not teaching anymore. At least not this semester, I'm pretty sure. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Got some drinks and some stuff to watch and everything. The Daily Capper. Now I saw this. I haven't seen it. 3.8 million. Me, I am not one of those. Actually, I wanted to watch Mr. Manicore's The Land Bridge. Across the Land Bridge. So, if you don't know who Mr. Manicore is, he did the Monument Mythos, which is fantastic. Especially if you like history and stuff. It's like weird shit that's in like an alternate history, and I don't know, it's very unique. Very, very unique. And he started something else. This isn't part of the Monument Mythos. I think it's in a new line of weird, also historical things, but it's not part of the other thing. Anyway, it's weird shit. And I want to watch it. That's all there is to it. There's not much more than that. Let me throw these over here. See what kind of weird shit we got going on. The Bering Land Bridge. I know what that is. It's the thing from Russia to here, which allowed us to migrate over here. Way back in the day, as it were. See, 19,000 BC. That's like 21,000 years ago. Forgotten things live here. What is this? It's at 720. Okay. People trust the stars, as you should. Well, back then it was probably what? Vega was our North Star, I believe. Ish. It was around there. It's like 12,000 years ago. Still, whatever. It was close. I could pull up Stellarium right now and show you what the sky used to look like 19,000 years ago. In the distance, it becomes flesh. Some kind of like Wendigo situation. Some crazy... The distant sound of fire wakes it. Okay. Maybe some sort of Bigfoot kind of event going on. I don't know. It sees the human. Okay. It summons this. Oh shit. We like Lavos now or something? The stars respond? Alright. Stars break apart the ice. Across the waters, there are other human witnesses. The Bering Bridge scenes, cave painting circa 19,000. Okay, we got the humans and their fire, and then stars come down, like meteorites or something. Stars, quote unquote. Okay. Little lava seeds to go and spread in the universe. Yeah, dude, I know that feeling. I know that fucking feeling every day of my life. Ooh. Ancient aliens. Please don't kill me. Okay. It's like a salamander slug thing. It crossed. What, the Bering Land Bridge? Okay. Interesting. Has he put out something else? These are very... well, I don't know. Inspired, I guess. What the Pilgrims Buried. Did we watch that? I don't know if we... No, I must have watched that. Did I know we watched it, followed Lewis and Clark. Man, he's put out some weird shit. There's some, like, I've seen the Ninja stuff before. Virginia 2.0, Bodies of the Early Universe. Okay, I'll bite. And be like, what the fuck is this? I like dinosaurs. Okay. Before Earth. It's a pleasant time. Bod. Ais. Modi's. Of the early universe, alright. It's very like
the first stars were like television static, flickering, restless. They caught friends in orbit, grains of substance which collided into one another, rounding and rounding out into little spheres the size of baseballs.
It's called accretion.
Balls,
Accretion of
then
planetoids.
beach balls, until finally worlds, moons, double, triple, multiplanetary systems, solar systems, interstellar neighborhoods, galaxies, superclusters, until a universe. For us. For them. Who are they? I almost named them, but I caught myself in the moment. A name would have reduced the impression they pass on to me. A name would have indicated that something of them was in fact within our understanding. Human understanding. But that is no possibility. If the first stars are like television static, then they are the television screen. They host everything. This is not just their ecosystem, it's their playroom. And we are their toys. They won't kill us. Fear would destroy their toys. They've kept us around for posterity. We are their toys, their parents' toys, their children's toys. I'm a toy with a telescope. I see the television screen. I see that we are the program behind the glass, a live feed of the playroom which is only perceptible through the telescope.
Okay.
I'm a toy who sees how trapped
Hey,
we
what's
all
going on?
are.
Ooh, if I'm a toy, I gotta apologize to these guys. There are much better toys out there than me. It's supposed to be like the early cosmic horror beings or something. What are you in all this? Interesting. Not very long, but interesting. Let's see. If the horned serpent appears in the Searings, I'll eat a whole shoe. 14 billion BC is space apocryphal. You're 100%, in my opinion, one of the best creators when it comes to cosmic horror. Everything you create manages to intrigue. Yeah, he's a very good creator. I haven't seen some of these, so I'm actually pretty interested. What is Virginia 2.0? I don't even know if I want to watch this. It's only 46 seconds.
For my whole life, I have felt like a stranger, stranded between two lands. And for as long as I can remember, I've struggled to understand my life.
But as I grow older, my purpose becomes clear. I must live as the best of both worlds.
What the? Oh, a little merch plushie or something. The Virginia plush was designed exclusively by collaborator and voice actor Eliana, and all profits will go to them. That's kind of cool. The Virginia is part of the Monument Mythos character that like swaps dimensions. I guess it's probably why it's like black and white. That's cool. Okay. Good for them. I wonder if it's still, like, available. Let's check it. Nope. Sold out. 235 sold. How much were they? Shop. I would have bought one had I money then. Huh. It doesn't tell me. That's cool. Good for them, though. I have merch. In my old channel, I had three shirts that I printed. One of them was for me, and two other were from people that were helping me run the thing. There does exist. Well, it's Crystarian merch. It's not Evanglair merch, but it's out there. I still have mine. It's so funny. Okay, What the Pilgrims Buried. This I have not seen. It says I've seen it. If I did, I don't remember. I remembered it followed Lewis and Clark. And we just watched it cross the land bridge. This I don't know though. So we're gonna watch it again, regardless. It's 4 minutes long. It's not that long. One way or the other. The land of Pawtuxet is beautiful, with abundant corn and restless. We call that maize in Mexico. Both are indispensable sources of hope. Tisquantum or Squanto. He is hunted by the fear that his existence will ruin the corn. You do not want to mess with corn. Squanto's family reassures him, but the unease takes root deep within. His mother distracts him with a lesson on growing corn. Corn is very important. It takes to 3 sisters. Corn, beans, and squash, with fish as fertilizer. Okay, that's weird. I'm not a big squash guy. I'm not a big gourd guy. I guess I like pumpkin pie. And that pumpkin is like a gourd. I'm not a big squash person. I mean, I'll eat it. Like if I'm dying or something, I'll eat some squash. Generally, corn, I'll eat any kind of corn. Popcorn, which I probably shouldn't, but regular corn, corn tortilla, man, any kind of corn stuff is good. Cornbread, corn muffins. Fine white dust clings to his fingers. Some weird shit. After seeing the remains, his mother speaks softly. David, this is no time to dwell. Live now. Water will not wash away the particles. As the dust spreads from one hand to another, the entire village falls ill. His mother is the first to pass. Overwhelmed by pain, Squanto sleeps endlessly. In his dream, he is kidnapped and sold to monks in Spain. He takes on many jobs and learns new languages. Eventually, his dream returns to the Pawtuxet fields. Squanto awakes, the village is silent. Mother? All his friends and family have been buried. That's probably not good. But the corn they planted grows strong. That's all that really matters. And the ocean still churns. Pilgrims settle nearby. Meet those guys. Squanto greets them in English. They say the plague that killed Pawtuxet has not fully passed. In fact, it has claimed half of the Mayflower's passengers. Squanto leads them to the bones in the cornfield. This is the source. We must bury it deeper. Ooh, that's not good. Whatever that is, does not look good. Does not look friendly. Pilgrims with woolen gloves deep in the grave. A feast is held in honor of the fallen Pawtuxet. Is this like the first Thanksgiving? Like the analog horror of the first Thanksgiving? Each one supports the other like us. I don't know what the hell I just watched. I'm gonna be completely honest. Let's see what people have to say. Mother, I had a terrible dream. I was sold to monks in Spain. Sold to what and where? Yeah, and it said he greeted them in English, but if they were Mayflower people, like, I mean, that's like the first wave, right? Like, you wouldn't know English? Or did he? I don't know. I'm not very good with history in that context. I find it fascinating. I did not give a shit about it when I was young. The connection between the skeleton creature appearing to be two animals connected and each one supports the other, chilling. Don't you hate it when you find an eldritch creature's skeleton while trying to plant crops, then getting weird powder from the creature's body on your hand and causing a plague that kills your entire village? Happens way too often. I do hate that. It sucks when that happens. Mr. Manicore is so good at making skeletons just look wrong. Yeah, he's so good. Okay. So we've watched like all of this. I don't think I've actually watched all of the Nixonverse stuff. I've watched some of it. And it's pretty out there. It is a thing that exists. Maybe we'll watch it later. We're gonna watch this Nick Crowley, The Daily Capper, a YouTube rabbit hole. I have not seen this, or if I have, I do not remember it. So it's more content for me to watch right now. And Nick Crowley puts out good shit anyway, so.
September 7th, 2012. A 15-year-old girl uploads a video to YouTube documenting her ongoing struggle with cyber harassment and blackmail being done at the hands of an unnamed individual. Throughout the video, not a single word is spoken. Instead, the teen tells her story through dialogue written on paper cards.
That's so weird to me. I've seen a lot of videos like that, and it's so... It's so weird because usually when people do that, it's like some really fucked up story, but like you don't get the human emotion that you would expect to get from a story like that. But and like I get it why they do that, because they do it before and they just put the cards in there and hold it up to get the message out, because they probably couldn't get it out without like just reliving the trauma and stuff. It's such a weird way of doing things. Like, and I understand why they do it. It's just very, very odd to grapple with as a
Flipping
viewer.
through them one by one, painting a picture of the traumatic abuse she was living through. Just over 1 month later, she would be dead, as a direct result of that very harassment. The story of Amanda Todd is one of the most heartbreaking across all of YouTube, with the case sending ripples not only across the site, but across the world as well, with the fallout still being felt to this very day.
Why do I know that Amanda
And from
Todd
this
name?
case, a light was briefly cast on one of the darker corners the internet has ever seen, momentarily illuminating a community that was never meant to be seen by the public eye, with a rabbit hole even more bizarre than anything we've covered on this channel before. And today, we're diving down to its very depths.
Oh, joy. Amanda Todd. I know that. Yeah, that was like... Yeah! Okay. It was that
Before we
girl.
dive into this incredibly dark topic, I chose not to do a sponsor on this one as it just didn't really feel right. But if you want to support the channel, I do have a Patreon page that
I
offers
remember
some
that was a
exclusive
while
benefits.
ago. Right?
For example, less censored versions of videos like the one you're watching right now.
Yeah, that's
or you
some
can just go over and
I
check out
haven't
the new
seen
ghost hunting
this,
channel
so-
that myself and Nexpo started called Nick and Ryan. We've got a brand new video dropping at the end of this month, and then a ton more already filmed and ready to go after that. So
They, I watched their, like, ghost hunting thing in Palestine. Palestine is, like, an hour away from me, or from where I work. It's about 2 hours away from where I live. But, I drive through Palestine, like, all the time when I was going to college over in East Texas. So, it's like, goddamn, they were, like, right there.
So there will be lots of content coming very soon.
It was
Links to
like
both of these will be in the
2
description.
months ago
and
or
with
something.
that,
It's very
let's get
recent.
back to the video.
All right. This is...
The story begins in the early days of the internet, a time when, due to the general public's lack of understanding of this new online world, moderation was at its most primitive and nefarious activity ran rampant, with many of the worst examples coming from the dawn of live streaming. Back then, streams and their associated chats were almost entirely unregulated, leading to them becoming a cesspool of all sorts of degeneracy, and it's within one of these very sites where Amanda's torment would begin.
I am actually very, very interested in this. I did not know that this was going to be what this was about, but I do know this person, like, not like obviously personally or whatever, but this was a big, big thing when it happened. And I don't know all the machinations behind all of it, so it's actually
It
very
happened on a website called Blog TV, where Amanda had logged in one evening at the age of 13 to the tune of 200 viewers. And it was here that she would be pressured to eventually flash the camera, with the whole chat cheering her on. A decision that she would regret not only in the moment, but for the remainder of her life.
The internet was a mistake,
Lurking in the chat room was a man under the alias of Tyler Boo, who had been waiting for that very opportunity to grab a screenshot and recording of this young girl in her most vulnerable moment, before immediately turning around and using that image as blackmail in an attempt to leverage it for more private performances. It was a demand that Amanda refused, though truthfully it wouldn't have mattered anyway. as Tyler would turn her world into a living hell of online harassment, with a photo and video being sent to all of her friends, acquaintances, and family members. It got so bad that on multiple occasions her entire family would be forced to move, though this was of no use, as Tyler's evil crusade persisted. Every new school, every person she interacted with, would eventually be met with the content from that fateful stream. Amanda could never outrun him. And with nowhere left to turn, she would take up drinking and drug use just to cope, until eventually, on October 10th, 2012, she just couldn't take it anymore. The story of Amanda Todd is a complex, tragic tale, with many factors ultimately playing a role in her untimely passing, with none being more prominent than her harasser. And with her video gaining immense virality following her passing, all eyes were on Amanda's case, with the big question being, who is Tyler Boo? A question that leads us to a particularly disturbing discovery and today's main topic.
Okay.
As to unmask this abuser, we have to first recognize that he wasn't alone, but rather was part of one of the most bizarre and deranged communities
I'm gonna 4chan
ever
bullshit,
uncovered
right?
on the internet.
The world of capping. I don't know.
With Amanda's
I'm pretty sure this is before the term cap meant like lie.
story making headlines, Canadian authorities quickly began work on their investigation, dedicating a team of detectives to unmask the man behind the Tyler Boo alias. And there, it's likely that they discovered that the crimes Tyler had committed were far more common than you would imagine. Back then, Tyler was what is known as...
What's so funny, like, funny in a weird type of way, whatever. It's like back then, it's 2012. It's when I fucking graduated grad school. It seems like yesterday. It's goddamn like 12 years ago. It's ridiculous.
A capper, someone who prowls live streams of young women and men across the internet, egging them on into performing some type of lewd act, and upon convincing them to perform said act, these cappers would then take screenshots or recordings, also known as caps, immortalizing the moment in an image or short video.
That makes sense.
For some cappers, this is where their involvement ends, but for many others, it goes much deeper. Once in possession of the caps, they will then use this as blackmail against the victim in order to further extort them, which is exactly what Tyler Boo had done to Amanda. And she wasn't alone. Back then, this kind of stuff happened on a freakishly regular basis, with hundreds, even thousands of cappers operating on a given night, with their list of victims being essentially immeasurable. Victims who had their lives completely and utterly destroyed by these malevolent outside forces that forbade them from ever speaking out. And these forces rarely operated alone. In reality, many of these cappers were closely intertwined within a community of individuals sharing this common practice, many of whom shared techniques, caps, and genuine online connections with each other. And as dark as this all may seem, their actual doings are somehow even worse than you could fathom. A fact that would only be fully understood and laid out on a silver platter upon the discovery of an internet-based program known as the Daily Capper.
Jesus Christ. Of course there's some kind of like centralized hub.
Happy Father's Day, cappers and camera folks. Welcome to the week in review of the Daily Capper.
The short-form program began its run here on YouTube back on June 20th, 2010, and continued airing weekly for over a year, with each episode having a runtime of roughly 5 minutes, primarily featuring this uncanny host and her robotic voice.
This reminds me of that. There was a Cartoon Network show, I believe. Like, if I can't remember it, it had like Prometheus and Bob and like the team of superheroes, but it was just some guy. It was, fuck, I want to say it was All Real Monsters, but that's definitely not it. I know what All Real Monsters is. Kablam? Kablam, was that the show, I think, that I'm thinking of? Had a bunch of like weird shit, and this reminds me of that.
And if she looks vaguely familiar, you might recognize her, or even the layout in general, as having come from the old HBO series Crashbox, an educational program made for children, which features an eerily similar segment called Distraction News.
Distraction News!
News with your anchor person, Dora Smarmy.
Good evening. I'm Doris Marmy, and welcome to Distraction News, where we give you the news and then ask you 5 questions about what we've just reported.
But the Daily Capper was a much different show, as its creators stole the imagery from Crashbox and dubbed over it with this off-putting text-to-speech in order to tell the top weekly stories from the world of capping, with the channel's description reading, "The capping world is a world that is unknown and mysterious to some, but really there's nothing mysterious about it. The Daily Capper is here to report week by week what goes on in the capping world." The page is almost like a time capsule, preserving the wrongdoings of this otherwise obscure community and putting it all out in the open. And because of this, investigators were understandably immediately drawn to the program, as it quite literally documented all of the highlights in the capping community, even discussing some of the group's major players and victims at the time that Tyler Boo had been harassing Amanda. And thus began their deep dive, and ours as well, into the Daily Capper. And what better place to start than at the very beginning?
Episode 1.
We are halfway through the year, and what better way to spend 365 days than on your computer screen looking for camera ports? Despite what others think, summer is not the time to go outdoors swimming being with friends. Rather, it is a time for girls and boys to turn their computers on and get dirty.
The show opens on a jarring note, with its creator being so crass that some might mistake this as a work of satire, though sadly this is far from the case, which becomes evident after only a few minutes when the tone is set for just how disturbing the Daily Capper was going to be.
These are some highlights from this past week. Nicole, 34, went to Tiny Chat and exposed her 15-year-old. She was later heroed and blackmailed by Doc Holliday.
Throughout the episode, multiple stories are told about what the capping community had been up to.
Hold on.
Her 15-year-old. She was later heroed.
Heroed? I know what, like, an hero. Okay,
and blackmailed by Doc Holliday.
Throughout the episode, multiple stories are told about what the capping community had been up to, with the host referring to the acquisition of these caps as epic wins, a common phrase throughout the capping community, a true indicator of the time period in which the show had aired. But what makes this all the more chilling was that each of the girls that had been featured on the show were minors, with the creator making sure to mention their ages, like a 15-year-old, and even a group of 13-year-olds.
It's weird.
Let's start with this past Thursday.
Weird
Epic
shit.
Win was delivered in the form of 4 13-year-old girls from Blog TV Jr., and all for a room of 300. A hero went on cam and streamed their video for them. These girls remain the most talked about girls in the capping world,
with these children bearing the brunt of the community's blackmail that week. It was all laid out in black and white. Not only did this one episode alone prove the existence of the capping community, but it also showed us a glimpse into how they operate, who they truly are, and just how remorseless they can be. It's truly unlike anything I've ever seen on the internet.
Like,
a group so clearly committing wrongdoings, yet so shamelessly airing it out. And I truly believe that whoever was behind the Daily Capper never meant for this show to leave their little bubble. With the very first episode alone including callbacks and past references to the capping community, with no added context being given.
From Blog TV Jr. went to Tiny Chat once again. If you remember, she has been to Tiny Chat before. One thing that has not changed, every post Coke makes gets deleted or banned.
Showing us that A, the community had been around long before.
So interestingly, I just thought of this. If you have a community like this sharing stuff like on a public site like YouTube, because this was on YouTube apparently, it almost seems like you would, like, hear me out, like, want to leave it on there because it would be so out in the open, people would know where to go to capture these people, instead of banning them and having them go underground to provide a more difficult way of figuring out where these people are, because you're never going to stop it. But if you can flush them out or easily have access to who these people are and like where they are and their IP addresses and stuff, that almost might be better I I don't know. I don't know how people do it to like fight against this shit. It's
for
wild.
the Daily Capper, and B, that the viewers were expected to have prior knowledge of events from within the community, making it apparent that the program was made solely for involved cappers, which is likely why it comes off as so unapologetic, especially as the episodes go on, as things only devolve further from here.
I bet they do.
Welcome cappers and campers to this special July 4th edition of the Daily Capper, and what a week it has been.
Just 2 weeks later, the Daily Capper would feature a story about a 12-year-old who had fallen victim to a capper, with said capper turning around and using the cap as blackmail to force the girl into
himself, along with Razor and this guy, blackmailed the girl to drink her own on this site.
A move that was celebrated by the host, as the Daily Capper didn't just highlight the best caps of the week, but also the best instances of blackmail, with the host making it very clear throughout the program just how much he appreciated the art of blackmail. It's a whole different level of disturbing, yet somehow the show manages to one-up itself with ease every single week, as the ages of their victims dipped lower and lower, to the point where the host was highlighting.
See, from what I've seen of like people in giving anonymity, like pure anonymity, I do think people are inherently just fucking awful, and you have to overcome that to be like a good person. I really do. I think that's like the baseline of humanity. Because more people are fucked up than you think. And the internet with anonymity and being like, especially back in the day, like the Wild West, it is fucking wild, dude.
A cap.
This past Friday, Minnie pressured a 12-year-old black girl with her 8-year-old sister to seriously an 8-year-old
taken from an 8-year-old child. Which brings up a glaring note about this community. All the victims I've mentioned so far have been drastically underaged, and that's no coincidence, as virtually all the caps highlighted are mentioned to have come from minors, while those obtaining the caps were generally far older, meaning that a key pillar of this community wasn't just exploitation and blackmail, but pedophilia as well. And to truly hammer this point home, the host even refers to cam girls above the age of 18 as retired.
This is also the only place you can see Charmander, dogs, and panther moose. So I guess it's also a camp retirement home.
It's impossibly grim, and though I feel the examples given prior go a long way in explaining what the Daily Capper was all about, I think the host manages to encapsulate just how vile their own
and the thing about it is it's not just these people, it's the people, because I'm bet fucking anything that this was incredibly popular at the time. So, I mean, it's not the people doing the acts, it's people that are consuming this. I don't even know what the fuck awfulness
show was in this one little segment.
Now a lot of people wonder exactly what capping is really like. While it's hard to explain every aspect in such a short period of time, some people have gone as far as to describe it as an underground version of Girls Gone Wild. Of course, there are a lot of differences between capping and Girls Gone Wild. For one, there are no blackmailers on Girls Gone Wild. But then again, those girls know they're going to have their videos shared all over the world. While girls on the internet will cry when they get recorded, that is a huge difference between capping and Girls Gone Wild. Plus they have to ask for permission before they use videos. And they have to be 18 or over. Complete opposite to what goes on here.
By this point, it's clear that both the community and the host of the Daily Capper are completely irredeemable, and despite some attempts by the creator to project a more neutral stance by making disparaging comments towards the community and thankfully not actually showing, this was in reality just an attempt to slide by what little regulation existed on the site back then, and a feeble one at that, as in one case, the host even guides his community on how to obtain.
They got banned on Ustream and soon were blackmailed by Perso Pete to deleting their account. If you want to know where you can get the video, just message the person who blackmailed them Love Ya Shotty on YouTube.
And on top of that, all throughout the show, the host celebrates the depravity within their community. And not just in a figurative way.
Well, yeah, I mean...
But in a literal one as well.
Dude, what the fuck is wrong?
Starting from before their first program would even air, the Daily Capper hosted the Capper Awards, an Oscar-like program made to celebrate the community's accomplishments throughout the year, with awards being given for such categories as Campsite of the Year, Cam Whore of the Year, Hero of the Year, and most chillingly, Blackmailer of the Year. This annual show first premiered on a separate YouTube channel back in 2009 and encapsulated everything wrong with this community, the arrogance, the deranged beliefs, the sense of pride, as just when you think this show can't get any worse.
Hold on. Got a message from a viewer. Wait, what the fuck? Hold on. Why are people... I don't know what people are talking about. This is... oh. What the fuck? What the fuck? So dumb. That's funny. Okay. Oh yeah, I was gonna throw up my live crazy live stream right now of this fucking awful bullshit.
Worse, it goes ahead and does something like this. With the sheer size of this community being put on full display, as it was mentioned that over 4,000 votes were cast for just one category alone, at a time before the Daily Capper had even begun. And this wasn't a one-time affair either, as in 2010 the show would return, this time being made into a full program in the styling that we're now used to.
Welcome cappers and campers to the official 2010 Capper Awards voting video. Here we will go over the awards and the nominees. Blackmailer of the Year. This one is for the twist of the internet.
Again, many of the same disturbed categories remained, with the most prominent being Blackmailer of the Year, which following community voting would be awarded to a user named Cody1206, who gained notoriety following his harassment of a young girl named Peyton.
Currently on Blog TV Junior, the girl named Peyton is being blackmailed every day by her mom Cody1206. So as usual with every blackmail, Peyton will give in to every request until Cody gets tired of her months from now and releases all her videos.
The situation sounds all too familiar to Amanda.
I've been blackmailed one time and it wasn't like online or anything, but it was a different situation completely. But there was a point where it's like, oh, like this shit ain't gonna cut it. And I just went and told the person, or told the thing that I had been blackmailed for, and then took the power away. It's like, I don't even fucking care anymore.
And not only did the capping community know the full extent of her torment, they celebrated it at an award show. And if this all wasn't bad enough, especially considering how Amanda's story would turn out, the host had this to say in a prior episode in regards to a young girl who suddenly disappeared after being harassed by this very community.
According to her Twitter, she ran away. Other sources have said she committed wherever she is now. We won't remember next week.
The parallels to the way this community operates and the story of Amanda Todd are extremely noteworthy, and it's not hard to see why investigators gravitated towards the Daily Capper being somehow involved in her death. After all, most of these cappers seem to be in a tight-knit group. However, there was one major reason for investigators to train their attention onto the Daily Capper, and it's a particularly devastating one.
Merry Christmas, Cappers and Camp to the December 19th edition of the Daily Capper. Meanwhile, another girl from Block has been talked about a lot this week. Denouncing Amanda.
Oh shit. It's so tragic. Like,
on December 19th, 2010, the Daily Capper would air a...
I'm surprised. Well, she wasn't like 13. I'm surprised nothing happened to like Monica Lewinsky like this, because I follow her on like Twitter and stuff, and she's like, she seems like a pretty awesome person. Yeah, I mean, whatever. She sucked Bill Clinton's dick. Who cares? Like, at this point, like, nobody gives a fuck. But she's like become a force for like all of this stuff. People do fucking dumb shit, and it doesn't matter like later on in life, but they can't see that. I don't know.
Segment mentioning an up-and-coming target for their community, with that child being 13-year-old Amanda Todd. In the show, the host states that she was extremely active on campsites and that she was being talked about quite a bit in the capping community. The ties to Amanda weren't just conjecture, it was proven right there in the footage.
She said she has been, I think, banned from Blog TV and ended up moving to Wicked Camp Chat to sing like she usually does.
As coincidentally, the show...
She just wants to sing, man. Like, who cares?
Just so happened to coincide with the exact time frame that Amanda's harassment had begun.
Let her do her thing.
She had been trapped by this community, grasped firmly in their clutches, and with the Daily Capper being so intertwined in this world of capping, it seemed all but certain that one of its members had been the culprit behind her torment. But who? Who was Tyler Boo? Well, despite investigators likely believing that they were close to their big break, while sifting through this disturbed online world, they actually wouldn't be the ones to break the news of this man's identity, and instead, answers came out of nowhere, in a twist that somehow makes this story even more bizarre.
It's not drama alert, is it? Please. Dear God. Oh, Anon, whatever, Anonymous.
Dear citizens of our nation, we have brought this announcement forwards solely for the purpose of releasing Amanda Todd's Punisher's identity.
Anonymous, they're not around anymore, are they? Or they might be. They are just, like, as most chaotic neutral as any group could ever be. It is wild. Because they will go after anyone. They've done as much incredibly good shit as they've done as much incredibly bad shit. It is they were the definition of chaotic.
You will find a URL to the man's docs in there. You will see various information about said
that shit
person.
Is wild.
Before the police could even finish their investigation, Anonymous, the world-renowned hacking organization, would take it upon themselves to uncover Tyler Boo's identity, with their results finding him to be a major player in the capping community, a user by the name of Cody1206, aka 2010's Blackmailer of the Year. In the program crowning Cody1206, it mentioned how he abused a young girl named Peyton, a previously discussed victim who suffered similar harassment to Amanda, and with this notion, Anonymous dug deeper into...
Yeah, okay, so they went down in 2012, Time called Anonymous one of the most 100 influential people in the world. Anonymous Media's profile diminished in 2018, but the group reemerged in 2020 to support George Floyd causes. Like, it's just insane. Purpose. It does say that their purpose is like anti-cyber surveillance, anti-censorship, internet activism, internet vigilantism. So I guess maybe they were like more of a force for good, quote unquote, than evil. The philosophy of Anonymous offers insight into a long-standing political question that's gone unanswered with often tragic consequences for social movements. What does a new form of collective politics look like that wishes to go beyond the identity of the individual subject in late capitalism? Because I remember, like, the Lizard Squad came out. Like, all of this shit is fucking wild. Anyway. Shit, I bet there's some, like, crazy documentaries on them
until
too.
They were able to prove that this same account was in constant contact with Amanda, and had supposedly been streaming her cap on this account for the whole world to see. And to add even more to Cody's rap sheet, he was supposedly already in the process of being charged with sexual assault on a minor.
Oh,
Anonymous
imagine that.
had found
Ooh.
their guy, and upon confirming this among themselves, they would publish this video including his full docs, with all of his private information being leaked to the whole world, with his real name turning out to actually be Cody. And just like that...
Oh yeah, look at that, this fucking winner right here. It's fucking 300-pound gorilla with the goddamn size of a pea brain in his head.
The internet's #1 villain was unmasked.
That's funny. Good,
but
good for
there
Anonymous.
was just one issue.
It wasn't him.
Anonymous actually got it wrong.
Oh shit. That's not good.
And when I say wrong, I mean they were completely off. As it turns out, the phone numbers and addresses belonged to entirely different people, and the birthday they provided for Cody was off by over a decade.
Fuck.
And to somehow make it even worse, it would later be confirmed that Cody wasn't even Tyler Boo. And upon the conclusion of the official police investigation, it would be...
Guy still looked like a moron.
Be revealed that Amanda's harasser was actually a 44-year-old Dutchman by the name of Aiden Coben, a notorious online predator known to have almost 100 different Facebook accounts in which he used for capping, with the man racking up an extremely long list of victims throughout the years, including Amanda, who he had tormented constantly for 3 long years leading to her passing. And though Cody did get caught in the crossfire here, I still have no sympathy for him, as he was undoubtedly a known capper in the community, and one of their most celebrated as well. And to make it even worse, it's believed that Cody and Amanda were actually friends, or at least Cody was pretending to be her friend, while at the same time, he was actually showing and sharing her caps regularly, meaning that he too was guilty for the harassment that Amanda was receiving.
Oh yeah.
But despite this story being all over the place at this point, when it was all said and done, the case was finally solved, and some justice was served for Amanda, with Aiden going on to receive a prison sentence of 13 years. But that doesn't mean our story is totally finished, as whatever happened to the Daily Capper?
Okay.
Strangely, in early 20...
I feel like I knew a little bit about this, and maybe I had watched this a long time ago or somebody else's like version of it, because this does now seem a little bit familiar, but like 95% of it doesn't.
2011, a full year before Amanda's passing, the show would come to an unceremonious end, with no real rhyme or reason being given. Shortly before this, it's known that the creator was dealing with issues on YouTube, likely due to improving moderation, causing the show to be kicked from the site and moved to other various websites like...
That's what I'm saying, right? Like, I don't know how to, like, approach that, because... Hey, what's going on? You know Amanda Todd? Like, do you know that name? Like, this is a very interesting video about all that. She was like this 13-year-old that, like, I don't know, everyone was, you don't know, like, you don't know this girl? Hold on. I mean, obviously, you don't know her, but it was like in 2012, She committed suicide because she, that girl, you don't remember her? It was like in 2012. It was like a big thing. Well, anyways, these people were like capping pictures of her. What? Yeah. So yeah, you know her, like yeah, you know of her. And there was this community called like capping or whatever, like picture capping. It was before like capping became known as slang for lying. And oh, I bet you have some shit to say about this. Because you were kind of in that little bubble tune. That's all I'll say about that. But there's like this group of people that would like do this weekly show about like catching underage girls like flashing, and everyone would like be like egging them on. It's like super fucked up. It's disgusting.
Daily Motion, where it can still be found to this very day. However, following the Capra
they would do like
Awards
a
for
weekly
2010,
update.
it seems like everything just kind of stopped. And it wasn't just the channel that went silent either. Alongside the show itself was an associated website called thedailycapper.com, which featured recaps and updates from the weekly episodes, and even including what seems to be a monthly downloadable magazine of sorts, which included God knows what. With this website and its services also ceasing around this very same time. And on top of this, there was even a separate YouTube channel run by the owner of the Daily Capper called The Capper Cartoons, which included animated stories about well-known cappers.
This shit is wild how like much like time and energy would go into this.
This page also came to a halt without any given reason. One day it all just kind of ended, and we have no idea why. Perhaps
it did not end. I guarantee you it did not end. These people just went underground. Guarantee you this shit didn't end.
Something had scared the creator off, or maybe they just moved to a more secretive location.
Yeah, that's
but either
what
way,
happened.
The accounts have been dead for well over a year, leading to Amanda's death, marking the end of the Daily Capper for good. Or so we thought.
Oh fuck. Plot twist.
Welcome to another edition of the Daily Capper. We just wanted to help provide a few more details to the recent Amanda Todd tragedy.
Out of nowhere, during Amanda's investigation, when the national spotlight was flashed on the long-defunct show, the Daily Capper would return for just a single episode to try and push the blame on Cody for the harassment of Amanda, as the show had aired right after Anonymous had dropped their video. But what makes this episode in particular so disturbing is the fact that it shows proof that not only had the Daily Capper interacted with Amanda, but also that Amanda had interacted with them.
As most of you know, we did a report on Amanda Todd during the time this tragic series of events began occurring. We are able to confirm the timeline in which this all began, as well as a background and information on those involved. There is one thing we can confirm about Amanda. On January 4, 2011, she commented on our video report, in which she was featured, detailing how she was being blackmailed. She states that she did in fact contact the police about her situation. Obviously, they were of no real assistance.
In a bizarre attempt to clear their name, the Daily Capper aired a comment that Amanda had left under their video, where they had initially mentioned her as being a new up-and-coming target. And it was there she wrote, "It's Amanda here. I'm getting blackmailed and the cops are out looking for the guy that posted the video of me flashing to all my family members and friends, because I didn't do stuff with him on cams. Put that in your news. People are also getting charged, but the site is shut down."
Nah, she was what, like 13 when this happened? There's, like, I can't even imagine. I didn't do stuff with him on camp, like, and this is when, like, Twitch and all of these sites, like, initially, like, came about. There was no moderation or anything. And you're having this girl who, like, just wanted to sing and just be fucking stupid on the internet, and all these people are like, flash us, whatever. Like, It's so fucked up. The internet was a mistake.
Cams. Put that in your news. People are also getting charged, but the site is shut down. The host would try to spin this in a way that blamed the police for failing to stop Amanda's harassment.
Oh yeah,
while
yeah.
posing as the good guys in the
Yeah, it's the police's fault. They didn't catch him. It's not our fault for putting the information out there.
this situation. Though overtly, this only proved that the Daily Capper did in fact know about Amanda's torment, and did nothing until she was already gone.
Yeah.
This would be the final
Imagine
episode
that.
ever aired of the Daily Capper. And with that, the creator and all his friends fell back into their dark corners, like snakes retreating into their holes, leaving the capping community, which was once so public and prominent, to essentially dissipate.
No, they're
but
still
what I find
out
so
there.
frustrating is that
100%
even with
they
the
are.
national attention this program received, its creator has still never been identified, despite them, in my opinion, having a clear hand in Amanda's death, by platforming and celebrating this community for all the horrible things they were doing. A community in which Aiden was most certainly intertwined with, as by the Daily Capper's own words,
Motherfucker looks like somebody that would have gotten eliminated on Squid Games round 1. You want to push somebody in Squid Games? Push this guy.
You'd think anyone could be her blackmailer, right? Well, at this time, there was not a single blackmailer that the capping community was not aware of.
Many factors played a role in Amanda's death, and the Daily Capper was certainly one of them. And though I know this rabbit hole goes much, much deeper, and would eventually lead to the identity of this criminal, it's nearly impossible to explore anything past this without running the risk of encountering, which means that this is where my investigation ends.
Porn,
And
yeah.
though I'm confident that at some
don't wanna-
point the
you
creator
don't
of
wanna
this
do
show
that.
will be unmasked, this is something that, for the time being, will have to remain one of the many mysteries of the internet.
Okay, I'll look at it. Right in time. Oh, we were watching the Amanda Todd thing. I actually didn't know most of this shit about her. If I did, I forgot. Let me look at it. On Twitter. Is that right? There it is. I see it. Elon the boarding school cult? Oh, yeah, let's go.
Teenagers have and probably always will.
Hey, I
It's
know
a tough-
him. Dude, he like narrates everything. Love him. It's funny because like, yeah, I'm subscribed to this channel already. They'll hire him, like he's on so many channels. He's on like 4 or 5 different channels or whatever, and I watched like a bunch of conspiracy stuff with him, and he's like, okay, because they hire him for his voice. He knows nothing. Like he's just reading from a script because, you know, that's what he does. He's so good. Hold on. Red Bar Radio went to the school. What is Red Bar Radio? I'm not quite sure about that. Oh yeah. 16 minutes? Hell yeah,
Periods,
dude.
hormones
I'm
go
down.
haywire, anger,
excited.
resentment, bitterness, maybe even a first love. It's a chaotic time for the mind and the body. For some,
So
it becomes
hopefully this will be a little bit more lighthearted than what we just watched about Amanda Todd killing herself when she was like 13.
all too
from
much.
a
How
bunch
to
of
integrate
bullshit.
teenagers into adulthood is a quandary felt the world over, with varying degrees of success. But what do you do when you run out of options? What do you do when the troubles
So what
overwhelm
is
a
this?
teenager and become uncontrollable?
Elan
Just
boarding
outside of Poland,
school-
Maine, once
school
stood a school
cult.
like few others.
I thought
that
this
became
was an
notorious.
Elon. I thought this was an Elon Musk thing. Elan. Okay.
For the
This is
sinister
different.
goings on
Completely
inside,
different
where
thing.
punishment wasn't just a slap on the wrist or a stern lecture, but something far darker. A place where your peers could be ordered to beat you into submission, or you might be forced to wear a sign that broadcasts your most humiliating secret to everyone around you.
Hold on
Welcome
one
to
sec.
Elan
What?
School, a so-called rehabilitation center that
1 second, please. Okay, that's fine. That'll be fine. Okay. All right. Sorry. Back. All right. Let's go.
behind its closed doors was the school from hell. Founded in 1970, Elan was marketed to desperate parents as a last-chance solution for their troubled teens. The school promised to turn around the lives of kids struggling with everything from substance abuse to behavioral problems through a regimen of strict discipline and tough love. But what these parents didn't know, and what would only come to light years later, was that Elan was a place of almost unimaginable cruelty, where the line between discipline and abuse was not just blurred, but completely erased. Two men, Joe Rickey and David Goldberg, came together driven by...
That's Ricci, right? Did I call him out on a mispronunciation? It's Ricci, right? It's like an Italian name, like Christina Ricci, not Ricky. You gotta give me that. I'm Texan. I don't even know how to speak English.
A shared belief that they could reform young people who had gone off the rails. Joe Rickey was a man with a checkered past, a former gambler and addict who claimed to have turned his life around. Charismatic and driven, Rickey believed in the power of confrontation
keeps calling him Ricky.
Which leaves no room for weakness. David Goldberg, a physician with a penchant for unconventional therapies, shared this belief. Together, they envisioned a school where tough love wasn't just a guiding principle, but a way of life. And so they founded Elan School in that remote town of Poland, Maine, far away from the public's prying eyes. From the outside, Elan looked like the answer to many parents' prayers. If you could afford the $50,000, nearly $300,000 today a year admission fee, it was marketed as a place where wayward teens could be brought back into line, where discipline and structure would mold them into responsible. Parents were told that Elan's methods, though harsh, were necessary to break their children's bad habits and build them back up to better people.
Oh, thank you.
These parents weren't told that Elan was less a school and more a psychological pressure cooker. The school's philosophy was based on the idea that these troubled
I do that all the time.
Actually, before
guy.
From the moment students arrived, they were stripped of their autonomy. Personal belongings were taken away, and contact with the outside world was severely restricted. Letters were monitored, phone calls were rare, and visits from family were heavily controlled. The message was clear.
Oh, this is like a prison.
Elan would be your entire world now, and escape was just not an option. Inside Elan's walls, a strict and rigid hierarchy was enforced. Some students were given authority over others, creating a system where fear and intimidation ruled. Students were constantly watched, not just by the staff, but by each other. Any infraction, real or imagined, could result in brutal punishment. One of the most infamous punishments was the ring, where students deemed to have stepped out of line were forced to fight each other in a boxing match.
Oh, hell
These
yeah.
weren't friendly encounters. They were brutal, often bloody affairs
I'd get my
that left
ass
students
beat.
battered and broken. The idea was to physically and emotionally exhaust the...
I'm trying to think. I have never been in a fight. Now, I have done things that would have... So I used to get a lot of death threats in high school because I was looking for other kind of, not other, but I was looking into other religions. And here in Texas, if you're not Christian, then it's not good. It's not good. There would be times when I would like come back from lunch and I would have these little notes because I was looking into like Wiccanism at the time or something, and I would have these notes saying that they would kill me and burn me in my coven and stuff, which like I wasn't like Wiccan, but like I was looking because I'm in the Bible Belt, and there's no hate like Christian love, as they say. And I was getting harassed quite a bit in 9th grade. It was 9th grade. It continued on in the 10th grade, and then I started growing my hair out, and somebody pulled my hair, and it was like the only cool thing I've ever done in my life, where I like whipped around back and like pushed this guy and slammed him into the middle of like an iron bar. Like, this was whenever we were going to different classes in high school, and this guy behind me like pulled my hair back, and I effectively like whipped around and slammed his whole body and face into this bar of these like double doors that closed or whatever. They were never closed, but like the bar was there. point is, that's like the close thing that I've ever gotten to in a fight. Because if I had ever gotten into a fight with anyone, I'd get my ass beat. Like, just flat out. That's how it would happen. So yeah. Anyway, the point is, if I'd have ever gotten into a fight, it would have not been good for me. I have, like, fucking toothpick arms. I have zero mass in my arms. This is like bone with some skin wrapped around it haphazardly.
The students until they were too tired to resist, too afraid to step out of line again. Another common punishment involved what Alon called general meetings. In these meetings, students who had committed some transgression, whether it was talking back, failing to follow orders, or even just appearing weak, would be dragged in front of the entire school. There, they would be subjected to a barrage of verbal abuse, screamed at, humiliated, and broken down by both the staff and their fellow students. The aim was to strip away their dignity, to force them into submission through sheer
that shit is gone.
trauma.
Dignity, that shit was out the window 6 years ago.
Cult-like environment that permeated every corner of life there. This wasn't just a place where troubled teens were disciplined. This was a place where they were systematically broken down, controlled, and psychologically manipulated in ways that honestly defy belief to modern thinking.
Okay.
But before talking more about the school, let's start at the beginning of a young person's descent into Elan hell. This wasn't a place where your mum and dad would drop you off and wave a tearful farewell. This was traumatic from the start. Transport staff would often surprise the unwitting detainee, sometimes in their bedroom in the middle of the night, and essentially legally kidnap them. Handcuffs and blind.
Like from their home? They'd come in and like do a home invasion and kidnap you?
Blindfolds were sometimes used, and you can only begin to imagine the terror as they were dragged into a waiting car outside. At Elan, every day was meticulously planned to keep students in a state of constant anxiety and exhaustion. Wake-up calls were early and abrupt, often accompanied by loud noises or shouting to jolt the students out of bed. Breakfast was quick and functional. No time for socializing or relaxing. Every minute of the day was accounted for, and every activity, from cleaning to meals to therapy sessions, always designed to reinforce the school's authoritarian structure. Elan's therapy was unlike anything in a typical rehabilitation program. Instead of professional counseling, students were subjected to a twisted form of group therapy that was more like public shaming. These sessions were called encounter groups, and they were notorious for their brutality. In an encounter group, students were encouraged, and by encouraged, I mean forced, to confront each other about their flaws, their pasts, and their deepest fears. This wasn't really about helping or understanding. It was about domination.
See, that kind of sucks. I mean, kind of. That is really fucking awful. Now, if somebody did that to me, like, I have lost all kind of will to, like, fight back and live and everything. I'd just be like, yeah, come on. Like, oh, yeah, we're going to beat your ass to death. Do not tempt me with a good time, friends.
And control. Everybody
but
had a job in Elan.
Back in that, like, formative years.
Been there and your behavior and progress.
It's awful.
Number one was service. Mostly who did cleaning and janitorial work. Then there was kitchen, who dealt with meal responsibilities. Then there was business, where residents would deal with the various bits of paperwork. Then there was communications, where the residents would relay outside news and take on something of a managerial role for the day plan. And finally, there were expediters who essentially policed the other residents. Elan had a repertoire of creative punishments that were designed not just to hurt, but to humiliate. One of the
How have I never heard about this? It's some wild shit. Okay.
More infamous tactics was forcing students to wear humiliating signs around their necks. These signs would detail the students' alleged offenses or personal failings, such as...
Hold on. My name is Phyllis Cohen. I behave like an emotional cripple. I consistently seek people's attention and try to get them to prove they care about me. I play games and continuously usurp people's emotions in order to make myself feel special. And then it goes on.
Liar or...
Hold on. Make myself feel special. Please confront me. Because if I don't change my attitude, I will always something, and I will always be something and lonely.
They would have to wear them publicly for hours, sometimes days. The goal was to instill a deep sense of shame and self-loathing, to strip away any sense of
I don't have that
and then there
anymore.
was the corner.
Shame went out the window 6 years ago. Believe me. Believe me. That feeling no longer exists.
Where a student could be sent for minor infractions. In the corner, they would have to stand sometimes for hours on end, facing a wall, forbidden from moving or speaking. Some students were made to stay in the corner for days, a form of psychological torture that you might sadly expect from Guantanamo Bay, not from leafy New England. So, what infractions deserved such
leafy New England going hard?
Well, take your pick. Reading as a non-strength being a new student who hasn't earned privileges yet, writing or drawing without permission, talking too loudly, talking too softly, looking at the opposite gender, being attracted to someone, looking out of windows, pretending to sleep at night, thinking of running away, being in the bathroom for too long, talking too much or too little, showering for more than 3 minutes, making facial reactions to orders, negative body language, oversleeping, undersleeping, or smiling. But it wasn't just the staff who were the enforcers of this cruelty. In Elan's twisted hierarchy, some students were given power over others, turning them into enforcers of the very system.
This sounds incredibly similar to the if you're still here, Super Shade, you probably know it. I know you probably heard it. Was it the Stanford experiment? When they divided these people up and people are like, oh, that's not a real experiment or whatever. But then the people that were like prisoners, and then there were people that were guards, and the guards like immediately took hold of their shit and like started like beating people and stuff. And they're like, that's not a real psychological thing, but like it happened, right? Like it happened. People like this back and forth on like, is it an actual experiment or not? That's what this sounds like.
That oppressed them. These higher-ranking students would often lead the encounter groups, deciding who would be the next target of verbal abuse. They would hand out punishments, ensuring everyone knew their place in the pecking order. This forced students to participate in the cycle of abuse, creating a community where everyone was both a victim and a perpetrator. The students were also constantly watched, creating a pervasive culture of surveillance and mistrust. Elan employed a snitch system, where students were encouraged to report on each other's behavior, sometimes bribed or coerced. This system ensured that no one felt safe and everyone was...
So it's kind of interesting that they're supporting the snitch system, whereas like, you know, the saying goes, snitches get stitches. But I guess the kids being in this like formative like part of their life, the formative years of their life, probably didn't have this like criminal behavior of like, hey, we're all together or whatever. That's interesting. That's like really interesting to me.
Bribed or coerced. This system ensured that no one felt safe and everyone was always on edge, afraid that any misstep or hint of rebellion would be reported and punished. And yet, despite the daily horrors, Elan exerted strange, almost hypnotic control over its students. Over time, many internalized the school's logic, its insistence that they were there because they were bad, broken, they needed fixing. Some began to believe they deserved the punishment, that the abuse was necessary for their
Stockholm
own
syndrome
classic cult-like indoctrination, where the victim is made to believe that they are the cause of their own suffering. For many of these former students, the impact of their time at Elan has
I'm the cause of my own suffering,
left, affecting every aspect of their lives. Mara Curley, who attended Elan in the late 1970s, described her experience as a nightmare that was nearly impossible to escape. Every day was a battle for survival, she recalls. You were constantly under surveillance, always watched, and any small mistake could lead to severe punishments. Another survivor, Daniel Shaw, reflected on the emotional manipulation and humiliation that were everyday occurrences at Elan. They'd make you wear signs around your neck that labeled you with insults. It was all about degrading you, making you feel worthless. Humiliation was the cornerstone of Elan's ethos, and it was frequently and miserably creative. One young woman...
Because you don't have that knowledge that to not give a fuck what other people think, and maybe that, you know, maybe that's just me. Because I remember I distinctly remember in 5th grade, I would get made fun of because I did not wear Nike shoes. And I would come home crying. Now, I'm like, dude, I don't give a fuck. Like people I guess in those years, and like, let's say like you're 8 to, I don't know, even maybe like 15, that kind of era, you want to be accepted by your peers or whatever, right? Like you want to fit in and all of that. Now, I don't have any friends anymore. I could care less. And even the other day, like somebody came in and I was watching like an Act Man video, and he's like, this is fucking stupid. You need to watch real YouTubers." I'm like, "What?" It's like, do you want to be Act Man? Do you want to be him? Do you want to be like him? It's like, "No, dude. I just like watching the shit that I like to watch." It's like, "You're fucking stupid," and went away. It's like, I don't know what to tell you, dude. I just do what I kind of want to do. But back in like 5th grade, man, I had to have like, as you know, my parents or whatever, like, man, I was in tears coming home. You want to be accepted by these people so much. And most people are shitty. Like, most people are super fucking shitty. Like, I will play something like Carly Rae Jepsen on here, and they're like, "Oh, you like pop music?" It's like, "Yeah, dude. I don't know how to tell you. I like what I like. You can go fuck yourself. If you don't like it, like, go watch somebody else. I'm gonna listen and do whatever I want. It's my life," kind of thing. So, but you can't. It's hard to instill that kind of mindset into someone that young, because you want to belong, and then later on you figure out, oh fuck all these people. I want to have people around me that have the same kind of like interests that I do, and the same stuff that I like want to watch the same shit that I like, and everything like that. That's why on my Twitch streams or YouTube streams or whatever, I'm not doing it for money or whatever. I'm doing it for people that like want to watch the same shit or have interests in the same shit that I have in. Like, I'm not going to conform to anyone. So, anyway, sorry for going on that rant.
To sex, and was then dressed as a sex worker and made to strut around and dance. When residents acted like
dude,
babies,
I'd do that shit
they were
for
made to wear a
$50
diaper and a bonnet and carry around a rattle. One resident suggested they get a house dog, so Elan decided the student would be the house dog. He was dressed as a dog and could only bark. One bark would mean yes, 2 barks would mean no. He had to walk on all 4s and eat dinner from a dog dish. In a rare video clip that appeared in a documentary on Elan, one woman can be seen wearing a sign that read, "My name is Phyllis Cohen. I behave like an emotional cripple. I constantly seek people's attention and try to get them to prove they care about me. I play games and continually usurp people's emotions in order to make myself feel special. Please confront me, because if I don't change my attitude, I will always be the scared and lonely person I am now." Wendy Maldonado shared a similar story of psychological abuse. She recalls being forced to participate in general meetings where staff and peers publicly shamed and berated students. They would break you down in front of everyone, she explains. It wasn't just about punishment. It was about creating an atmosphere of constant fear and submission. You never knew when you would be the next target. Elan's remote location in the dense woods of Poland, Maine, played a significant role in maintaining its secrecy. The isolation of the school, far from the public eye and urban centers, made it easier to conceal what was happening within its walls. Parents were often discouraged from making unscheduled visits, and students' communication with the outside world was tightly controlled. Letters were censored, phone calls were monitored, and attempts to speak out were met with swift and severe punishments. This level of control ensured that very few people outside of the school's staff and students knew the full extent of the abuse taking place. Beyond physical isolation, Elan's leadership was adept at manipulating both parents and authorities. The school was marketed as a last...
They sound like the Fisher-Price version of Scientology.
...resort institution for troubled teens, a place where tough love and strict discipline were necessary to achieve behavioral reform. Many parents, desperate for solutions and overwhelmed by their children's struggles, were willing to believe in Elan's promises of a better future. They were reassured that the harsh methods were both effective and necessary, and in many cases, they were led to believe that questioning the school's practices would jeopardize their child's progress. Elan also had powerful allies that helped protect it from scrutiny. Joe Rickey, one of the co-founders, was a charismatic figure with connections in Maine's political and business circles. These connections provided a buffer against investigations and complaints. whenever concerns were raised about Elan's practices, they were often dismissed as misunderstandings or the fabrications of rebellious teenagers who didn't want to face the consequences of their actions. The school's administration was also quick to silence dissent. Strict confidentiality agreements bound staff and students. Any attempt to speak out was met with intimidation or legal threats. This culture of silence extended to the local community as well. Elan was a significant employer in its small rural area, and many locals were hesitant to speak out against the institution for fear of losing their job.
This is what I think of, because they were talking about, like, how they manipulate the parents or whatever, and the parents are like, or they're like, oh, you know, it won't work, don't let them manipulate you. This is what I think of.
Dear Mom and Dad, I no longer fear hell, because I've been to Camp Krusty. Our nature hikes have become grim death marches.
I got a Simpsons reference for everything in life.
Back in line, maggot! Our Arts and Crafts Center is, in actuality, a Dickensian workhouse.
Come on, wimps! These Gucci wallets have to be on the streets of Hong Kong by Friday!
Bart makes it through the days relying on
Krusty
his
is coming.
unwavering belief that Krusty
Krusty
the Clown
is coming.
will come through.
Krusty is coming. Krusty is coming. Krusty's coming.
But I am far more pessimistic. I am not sure if this letter will reach you, as our lines of communication have been cut.
Idiot!
Now the effort of
How
writing
did she
has
get
made
the
me
alcohol?
lightheaded, so I close by saying, save us! Save us now! Bart and Lisa.
Kids' letters from camp.
Oh, she complains now, but when we go to pick her up, she won't want to leave. Lisa, I've been thinking it over. Next summer, I'm getting a job.
I got a reference for everything.
Or facing social ostracism. Elan School managed to evade scrutiny and accountability for decades. But its downfall began with a series of courageous acts by former students who refused to remain silent about the abuse they endured. In the early 2000s, a wave of survivors started to share their experiences online, finding solidarity in forums and support groups dedicated to exposing Elan's dark secrets. This grassroots movement grew steadily, gaining momentum and attracting the attention of the media and public alike. One of the pivotal moments in Elan's unraveling came in 2001, when a former student named Zach Bonner launched a website to expose the school's abuses. His site became a gathering place for other survivors.
It is. This is like Fisher-Price version of Scientology, where these people are coming together through the internet and exposing this shit. And good for them.
Who shared their stories of physical, emotional, psychological torture. As more and more accounts surfaced, the extent of the abuse became impossible to ignore. Around the same time, investigative journalists began to take notice. Reporters dug into Elan's history, interviewing former students, staff, and parents. They uncovered a pattern of abuse that stretched
It's
back
wild. I've
decades,
never heard of this
stories
place.
that painted a chilling picture of what life was like inside the school. The media coverage sparked outrage and led to increased scrutiny from state authorities. In 2002, the Maine Department of Education investigated Elan's practices. Though the school managed to survive the initial inquiry, the writing was on the wall. The public outright and continued pressure from survivors and activists made it increasingly difficult for Elan to operate in the shadows as it had for so long. Numerous deaths had been linked, not necessarily directly, but certainly in connection with Elan, and these now bubbled to the surface. In 1990, a 15-year-old boy using a false name who had escaped Elan was fatally shot in a mishandled firearm incident. In another case from 1993, a 17-year-old student ran away from the school during an outing and was tragically sexually assaulted and then murdered while trying to return.
Holy shit.
In 2013, 49-year-old Tiffany Joy Sedaris committed suicide. She had lived at Elan for 2 years in her younger years, a stay her family claimed had deeply traumatized her to the point that she was never the same again. And perhaps most shockingly, the death of a 15-year-old resident who died in 1982 after participating in The Ring at Elan. The boy was beaten so severely that he developed a brain aneurysm. No charges were filed at the time, and despite the case being reopened in 2016, again, nothing came of it. The final blow came in 2011, when the school's enrollment plummeted due to the negative publicity and growing...
Wait, hold on. That didn't make sense.
Was beaten so severely that he developed a brain aneurysm. No charges were filed at the time, and despite the case being Being reopened in 2016, again, nothing came of it.
So the case was reopened in 2016.
The final blow came in 2011.
The final blow came in 2011. So I guess the 2016 case they said was reopened, so it happened clearly before 2011. Still, that's a little wonky timeline.
The school's enrollment plummeted due to the negative publicity and growing awareness of its abusive practices. With fewer and fewer parents willing to send their children to such a controversial institution, Elan's financial situation became untenable. Facing mounting legal challenges, public outrage, and an unsustainable business model, the school was forced to close its doors for good.
But okay, so they opened in like the early 70s. Until 2011. That's a good 40-ish years. To stay open like that, they would have had to have like a lot of positive press and like positive outcomes from it, right? Like, and I'm not trying to defend them. It sounds fucking awful. I would have never made it. It's just, I wonder how they, I wonder how they stayed open that long for 40 years, even well past into the people that survived it becoming adults. Maybe they were so like fucked up in the head, like PTSD or something, they never wanted to come out. Because like right now, I'm like, I don't really give a shit. Like I'll talk about whatever I want to talk about.
The cult-like boarding school from hell was done, with just
like
about
fuck the
everybody
ramifications.
glad to be rid of this wicked and horrifying place. Nearly 15 years later.
It's just so weird that like you'll hear about something so fucking like he's saying, horrifying place that, okay, if it was that horrifying for all the 40 years, why did it stay open so long? That's so, it like is just government and like funding and everything like that, like that corrupt? Did the higher ups have that many connections with people to keep it open? Which I'm sure they did, right? Because one thing that I've learned is the only thing that matters in life is who you know. Like that actually is it. It doesn't matter what kind of degree you hold. It doesn't matter anything. It's who you know and in what circles are you running in. So I'm assuming that's kind of the situation here.
And in a much more delicate world, you'd probably assume that institutions like Elan are long gone.
Yeah.
Well,
no.
Yes and no. While businesses have had
100%.
to make some huge changes over the last decade or so, there are still an estimated 10,000 programs within the troubled teen industry across the United States.
Yeah. 100%.
A large number of them in Utah. At any one time, there are between 120,000 and 200,000 individuals in these programs.
Aren't like Mormons in Utah? Is there some kind of like weird symbiosis there? Like Jesus Christ, Latter-day Saints kind of thing? They're like all in Utah, right?
Programs, often completely against their will. It is a massive industry worth $69 billion a year, with just a single day costing parents between $500 and $1,500. But here is the shocking statistic. Since 1976,
a lot of money.
300 minors have died while in the care of the troubled teen programs, the youngest of whom was just 6 years old, with the largest chunk of these simply labeled as the cause being restraint. The horror of Elan may be gone, and thank goodness it is, but this is a dark,
you'll never get rid of it.
Problem that still runs deep.
I wanted to watch this, the drug that makes you forget who you are. Oh, did you? Okay. Let me look at it. I've seen this, but I'll watch it again because I haven't seen it in a very long time. Or maybe not. I do know the Max Headroom thing, but we got some what? Donkey Kong music? Donkey Kong Country music? It's aquatic ambience? No? His minute and a half ramble is hard to... Oh, I actually, you know what? I don't know if I've ever seen the original Max Headroom, the original incident. I know about Max Headroom. Know all about that shit.
You should talk often with the old
I don't know if I've
ones,
ever
but it's
seen
only
the
way to
thing,
learn.
though. Like the original incident. Here we go. How does someone take over the airwaves? Like, I should probably know that, like electromagnetic waves and stuff, but like, how did somebody hijack the airwaves like this? My files. That's some weird shit.
I just made a giant masterpiece for all the greatest world newspaper nerds. My brother is wearing the other one. But it's dirty.
This is the original, like, Max Headroom hijack that happened in 1987. I was a year old when this happened. I mastermind everything a year out of the womb. I'm pretty sure I've done that on stream.
As far as I can tell, a massive electric shock. He died instantly. The generator?
And they go right back to it. Like nothing happened. On November 30th, 2020, Reddit username bpog posted an essay stating he thinks he knows who did it and has a lot of legitimate points to back him up. If it's what he's saying is true, perhaps this case will not go completely unsolved in our time. Interesting. Should we go to the post? Is it linked in here? Or do I have to fucking... Dude, I'm not typing all that shit in myself. It's not happening. It is Aquatic Ambience by David Weiss. I got that shit. Oh, I got Super Shade feeding me some weird shit. I have no... Like, I'm here streaming whatever the fuck I come across. What happened to Max Head? Like, dude, nobody, like, why would you? I don't want to type all that in. Why could you not put that in your goddamn description? You're not me. This person has, like, 10 times more subscribers than I have. Interesting. I have more weird shit from Nick Crowley. Dude, he's not reaching Grandmaster. I could play that. I could reach Grandmaster tonight. I'm not going to, because I don't want to show everybody up on Marvel Rivals, but saying. I got some shit to watch.
On a scale from 1 to 10, my friend, you're fucked.
This is my new favorite song.
In lack of other words, I'd say you're fucked. You are, as they say in Japanese, fucked from the head down to the knees. I am sorry to inform you, you are fundamentally fucked.
But people will forget.
The song is called You're Fucked. So, 6 most disturbing things caught on police dashcam footage, volume 2. Why not, right? I haven't seen volume 1. This is the first one that I came across, so.
This is the dashcam footage of rookie Delaware State Police Trooper Hassan Hollis. Hassan was stationed on a highway on-ramp right next to a stalled vehicle waiting for a tow truck to arrive when he spotted a red Buick Regal. Only minutes before, a radio call had gone out for all officers in the area to be on the lookout for a vehicle that matched that very description, as it was linked to a possible kidnapping.
Where are we?
Hassan quickly ditched the stalled vehicle and began chasing it down the highway.
Where in the United States are we?
After a few moments, he caught up to it and got right behind it.
Sure.
The license plate matched up. Hassan then radioed for backup and began pulling the vehicle over using extreme caution.
What if he did it with his right hand? Would they have immediately shot him between the eyes?
Yeah. Yes. Where? In the car.
Oh, fuck. In the trunk. Did not know that.
Inside the vehicle
was
35-year-old Lewis Coleman.
Dude, that looks like there's another person in the back seat right there. Because you would be like, all right, the headrest of the driver's side front seat looks there. That looks like another head, but the guy's like, oh shit, there's another person in the trunk.
When asked if anyone else was in the vehicle, Lewis would explain how someone was in the trunk. Upon opening the trunk, police would find the remains of Jassy Correia inside of a suitcase. A suitcase which Lewis was later found to have purchased only a couple days earlier at a nearby Walmart.
A suitcase? Okay. I have watched the video of this girlfriend that made her boyfriend or fiance, whatever the fuck it was. They weren't married, but whatever. Get inside of a suitcase and then she zipped him up. How does a person fucking fit inside of a goddamn suitcase? Why are there people in suitcases? Are suitcases that large that can accommodate a fucking male human body? I'm a pretty big guy. I'm 6'3", 6'4", on a good day, 6'3.5" normally. Whatever. I'm a pretty big guy, right? Not fat or anything, but I'm a tall guy. I'm filled up. How the fuck you fit a person in a goddamn suitcase?
Along with this, he also purchased other items, such as duct tape, surgical gloves, and safety goggles.
Why? You're zipping up a dude in a suitcase.
The unfortunate events were believed to have started at a nightclub hundreds of miles away where Jassy Correia was last seen. It's thought that this is where Lewis had lured her inside of his car. Upon being arrested, Lewis Coleman would plead not guilty, but considering the mass amount of evidence against him, he would later be found otherwise by a federal jury.
But it's not.
As of right now, Lewis is still waiting for his sentencing. It's November 19, 2017 in Clearwater, Florida. Two police cruisers, both with their own dash cams, were responding to a traffic stop on North Keene Road. Just 2 minutes after they arrived, a small plane hovering in the air slowly comes into view. But it quickly becomes clear that it's descending and heading straight at them.
It's fucking Harrison Ford crashing another airplane. I'll be honest, I would actually kind of like to learn how to fly a plane. Me and a friend started building a hang glider out of bamboo in grad school. Probably would have been awful. Probably good that we never finished. But I think that shit is amazing. I love flight and everything. Dude, I'd love to learn how to fly something. Even looking at this carnage,
The plane's right wing clips a tree while descending, causing the aircraft to spin out and forcing it to the side of the road. Just minutes earlier, the four-seater plane had taken off from a nearby airport. Flying it was 61-year-old Mark Allen Benedict, accompanied by one other passenger. Shortly into the flight, their engine started failing. Mark reported this back to the airport and further explained to them that he didn't think he could make it back. Mark didn't have many options, as the state of the one engine he had was only continuing to worsen. This is what forced him to crash land on the road, a road which just so happened to already have police present.
Like, but don't little, like, what are they called, Cessnas or something? Like, can't you glide down into the road? I know. It's probably way, way harder than I'm making it sound, but still.
Despite the terrible nature of the crash, Mark and the other passenger on board were able to walk away from the wreckage with minimal injuries.
Good.
No one on the ground was injured.
Isn't that what they say? Like, if you're able to walk away from any landing, like, that was a good landing? I mean, that's good. Like, that's a really good thing.
This footage was taken from the dashcam of Arkansas Police Corporal Randy McAdams around 3 a.m. on October 15th, 2005.
Sure.
Randy had been informed of some type of crash at Hobo Jungle Park and was in the process of responding to the incident. On his way to the crash site, he would notice a thick layer of what looked like fog directly in front of him. This prompted Randy to stay put. Shortly after, his dashcam would capture this.
Dude, the weirdest fucking shit is driving through, like, Dallas or Fort Worth or something in heavy fog. That is some of the most eerie shit ever. Because there's tons of people around you. You can't see more than like 5 feet in front of you. And like, if you're going down the road, like on I-20 or whatever, and whenever you get to a major overpass, there's like huge light poles and shit like that. And you don't see them until you're very near them. It is the weirdest goddamn thing. It's like playing in a Nintendo 64 like horror video game with all the fog and shit. It's weird. It's some weird shit. And I love it.
I've got some kind of chemical smell. It's slowly drifting further south.
Jesus.
Damn, boy. Central, we just had a huge explosion. We've got massive fire out here. We hear the river yard. All kinds of stuff on fire. Right there. Just lost power down here on the hill. 10-4. 209, you might want to back your unit up.
Holy shit. Oh my god. It's wild.
Get the hell up out of here.
Randy desperately backs away from the explosion and is able to make it out of its range. It turns out the crash he was responding to was a train crash at a nearby railroad yard. The collision resulted in the puncture of a tanker carrying propylene, a
sound a little truckier than I would have thought.
Compressed flammable gas.
If you know what that's from,
originally seen when responding to the incident.
For you. You get like
at that point, the gas wasn't yet on fire.
Karma points.
It wasn't until it reached a nearby house that it was set ablaze. It's believed that the house's water heater is what was responsible. This is what then caused the extreme explosion seen in the dashcam footage.
Holy fuck.
Had Randy entered the fog,
wild.
he and his patrol vehicle likely would have been incinerated. But amazingly, all police officers and even rail yard employees were out of the explosion's range when it occurred. In fact, around 3,000 residents within a 1-mile radius were advised to evacuate immediately. Unfortunately though, the house that had started the explosion had a single occupant, which would be the only person killed in the incident. This tragedy brought a lot of light to the shortcomings in communication methods between the police, the fire department, and those working the rail yard tower. For example, initial
Here's what I was quoting. It's a little truckier than I
train
thought.
noises. It's not funny.
Dad, it's not me. I think there's a...
Bobby, get away from the tracks now!
I basically live in Arlen here in Texas. Like, I'm south of Dallas, but like near it, but not, but I am. Yeah, anyway. This is my life, like, actually.
Dad, leave it!
Stop! Someone's on the tracks! Stop the train! Stop
the train. It's a little truckier than I thought. Oh, he doesn't say it. He's like, that sounded a little truckier. God damn it. Alright. Well, fuck me.
Observations of a vapor cloud and chemical odor were not even passed down to responding dispatchers. In response to this, the city has since modified some of their communication protocols. This footage was taken on February 18th, 2022 in Shawnee, Wisconsin. The dashcam is in the cruiser of Officer Jeff Buettner. Jeff was patrolling the highway when suddenly this happened.
Oh, he fucked up. Yeah, that happened in Fort Worth, where I used to live. Yeah, everyone got fucked. Yeah. That happened in Fort Worth. Yeah. No, we had a huge pileup. We had like more than 100 car pileup here in where I lived in Fort Worth. Yeah. It was awful. That was like 4 years ago or something.
A pileup of cars comes into view.
Yeah.
But same as everyone else, the icy conditions didn't allow enough time for Jeff to slow down, forcing him to crash.
Happens all
Before he had time to get out, cars from
happens
behind him
often.
began to slam
More
into the
often
police
you would
cruiser.
think. Especially here. Like in Wisconsin, you'd think that they would know, right?
Jeff was now trapped inside of his vehicle, but still, at least for the most part, unhurt. Not long passes when a few other people involved in the crash go up to check up on Jeff.
I think I know what's about to happen. Ooh, I think I know.
A little sore, but I'm a little sore, but I gotta try and get a hold of my supervisor at least. I'm kind of trapped right now. How's your legs and everything?
Oh, no, somebody's there. Somebody's there talking to him, which means he's outside the car.
I'm with Shawnee PD. I gotta I'll try and get out of here and do what I can to help you guys. I'm sorry, man. I'm trapped right now. That's okay.
Dude. Him saying like, oh, I gotta get out of here and try and help you guys is like way more than I would do.
Hold on, let me try and get out of my driver's work first. Can you?
Dude.
Can you, Nope, we got it open. You got it open?
6 minutes would pass until Jeff was able to free himself. From there, he immediately joined in helping other stranded drivers.
I'm gonna be honest, like, nah.
A total of 39 vehicles were involved in the pileup, resulting in 10 people being injured.
How many were here in Fort Worth?
In January of 2016, police of Lincoln County would release this dashcam video. Driving the cruiser is Deputy Jeremy Gatney, who was on a routine patrol in the area at the time.
That was 2 years ago.
As he nears an intersection, Jeremy notices an obstruction in the roadway. That's when he realizes it.
Here, look. This is what happened in my part of the country. I could actually see this from my apartment where I used to live.
Who's to blame?
This was a
Investigators are now saying who's to blame
it's a
for this February
big
2021
highway
interstate crash that left 6 people dead and dozens others injured.
They just keep hitting and hitting and hitting.
The crash happened
Nobody
on
could
an
see
elevated
anything.
stretch
Look,
of the
boom,
southbound toll
done.
lanes of Interstate 35 West in Fort Worth.
Yep. Boom,
Pete
done.
Stone got a phone call at home.
This
as
was
the crash
fucking
happened.
wild.
My wife, and the only words were, "I've been in a bad wreck."
The NTSB blames North Tarrant Express Mobility Partners Segment 3, saying they failed to treat the portion of the icy interstate.
Dude, there was no blame. Everyone's gonna blame everyone. You're gonna blame anyone, blame fucking Mother Nature.
Investigators
I was
say at
watching
6:04
this
a.m.,
shit
after
outside of
one
my
vehicle
apartment.
struck a concrete barrier, other drivers began to slide, spin, and strike the barriers, including a large truck. After driving to I-35, here's why Heath Stone feared the worst.
People screaming, car horns going off, smoke in
Oh,
the air,
yeah.
all the smells.
It's
cold,
ridiculous.
freezing, sirens. It was overwhelming.
Heath located his slightly
Look at that.
injured wife, who climbed out of her
Wild.
back car window to
This shit is
safety, so
wild.
Heath helped rescue others. As part of his findings, the NTSB recommends that Texas install variable speed limit signs, add sensors to reduce response times to weather-related hazardous.
Dude, it doesn't matter. Like, these people are trying to. So stupid. Anyway, I've witnessed this. I haven't been in it, thank God. But
It was moving and coming towards him. He slows down and turns on his lights as he gets closer, before realizing what he was actually looking at.
oh my God.
An infant child running in the middle of the road right up to Jeremy's front bumper. Jeremy picks him up and asks him where his parents were, and shortly after they would be located. They were found frantically searching for their child. It was later discovered that the child had unknowingly slipped out of the family's house through an open door, and it wouldn't be until minutes later before the parents realized that their child was missing. The incident was investigated thoroughly on the basis of child neglect, but it was ultimately determined to just be an accident. Therefore, no criminal charges were brought to anyone involved.
Good. One of my earliest memories in my life was whenever I learned how to play hide and go seek. You want to hide, from the people that are trying to find you. And I had this like blue table, like this plasticky blue table with these white legs that was in like the corner of our kitchen. And I hid under there, and my parents couldn't find me, but I was like winning at hide and go seek, the game that I had started in my mind without telling anyone else. And it was a similar situation there, although I didn't like go into a highway or whatever. But yeah, my parents weren't too happy with me with that.
On the morning of February 24th, 2015, police would receive multiple calls from a neighborhood in New Jersey reporting a strong smell of gas in the air. Police, firefighters, and utility workers would respond to the calls. They suspected a gas leak and were quickly trying to locate where it was coming from. Meanwhile, 75 different homes in the nearby area were evacuated. Then, caught on one of the responding police cruiser's dash cams, a sudden explosion.
Jesus Christ. It's a big explosion. That is some wild shit.
Dude, hello.
The explosion sent debris from the house flying out in every direction throughout the neighborhood. The home was blown clear from its base, though it was under renovation at the time and therefore empty.
I'll be right back. I gotta do the bathroom. Be right back here. You can listen to You're Fucked and then the other subsequent songs. I will be right back though.
On a scale from 1 to 10, my friend, you're fucked. In lack of other words, I'd say you're fucked. You are, as they say in Japanese, fucked from the head down to the knees. I am sorry to inform you, you are fundamentally fucked.
But people will forget as time goes by.
You're fucked.
What if I tell them that it was some other guy?
Still fucked. I don't think you understand by far how completely super fucked you are. You are Hitler in the bunker fight. Hey, you're fucked. So fucked. There should have been a moral here, should it not? You are super duper. I can think of anything besides your fuck. My God, you are fucked. You are F-U-C-K-E-N-D. That spells fucked if you're too fucked, you see. So don't you ever drink and drive, my friend, unless you wanna go to jail and get fucked again. You are absolutely super fucked. You're fucked.
Alright. It's all good. We got 0 people here. Five most disturbing internet rabbit holes. It is right now. It's probably the coldest it's been all year. Like not. It's like January. Thursday, Friday, snow, winter,
This is the dashcam footage of Rookie Delaware State Police.
We've already done that. I wanted the disturbing internet rabbit holes.
The 2006 volleyball incident.
Okay.
On July 2nd, 2017, an anonymous user posted a thread on 4chan's paranormal board saying, "How does one live after taking the red pill on the 2006 volleyball incident?" Now, if you're wondering what that incident was, it's a strange and disturbing story. The post was referring to a supposed mass shooting where a gunman killed 14 people during a high school volleyball game in either South Dakota or Nebraska back in 2006. But here's where things get strange. If you search for any information about it online, you'll find nothing. No news articles, no official casualty reports, nothing. Just conspiracy theory websites and the occasional Reddit post asking if it even happened. It's like the whole event either never existed or was somehow erased from history. But despite the silence online, there are many people who claim they remember hearing about it. Some even say they were at Mount Rushmore around that time and heard a report about it on the radio. For a long time, the only evidence of the incident on the internet was this still frame from a home video that was supposedly taken just before the incident with the date September 27, 2006 embedded on it. That is, until some ordinary gamer, a YouTuber who often dives into dark web rabbit holes, discovered more evidence. While browsing the...
Interesting. I watch Mutahar, like, quite a bit. He's always jerking it to, like, Linux. And I think it's pretty funny.
Late Nights forum on a 4chan-like site, he came across the gruesome pictures of a bloody school gym that were allegedly taken soon after the shooting had already happened.
So right here, let's go down a little bit over here. They've got 2006 volley. Oh my god. Oh, we're gonna have to blur this one. Jesus Christ, that's actually like death footage. I think I remember this. I was searching around for some sort of proof of this happening, and apparently it's a snippet from a home video. I got. Oh my god. We have to blur that out. I gotta make sure we note that, blur it real quick. Let me add that to the notes here. Jesus, it's like an actual straight up bloody massacre. It's like VHS recorded. This has to be from like a movie. There's no way. This has to be from like some movie. It's crazy as hell. That it's got like a CBI not for release. Like I assume CBI stands for like some sort of a governmental organization or something. That is so messed up. I feel like I should have known this or something. I don't even know if that's like a conspiracy. How is that a conspiracy? It's actually like death foot, unless it's from like some movie or something that we don't know about. Jesus Christ. Yeah. That is actually the most chilling thing I've seen. We're like 5 minutes into this recording, and already it's just like death footage has hit the building.
In the bottom right corner was the text, CBI not for release, which I'll do my best to show you while blurring everything else out. This has led to some pretty wild theories being spread all over the internet. According to the most popular ones, the incident did happen, but it was covered up by the American government. As the story goes, the government was trying to assassinate someone who was attending this high school volleyball game. Things got out of hand, however, and a lot of the young volleyball players were caught in the crossfire. And since this would have caused tons of backlash from the public, the government instructed the news media to not talk about the story and also paid the victims'
Damn, I kind of want to go down that rabbit hole now.
Families to keep them quiet. However, while the US government is no stranger to covering up the truth, I have to admit, this one is quite far-fetched. Keeping something this big under wraps for so long feels pretty out there. At some point, you'd think the truth would slip out.
Sure.
A somewhat more reasonable theory is that this is a classic case of the Mandela effect, where large groups of people collectively misremember something. And
No, that's not what the Mandela effect is. The Mandela effect is people remembering shit and then being warped into another universe, god damn it.
Incidentally enough, I actually did find a similar incident that happened in 2006 in that region. In the Platte Canyon High School situation, 53-year-old Dwayne Roger Morrison took 7 female students hostage, attacked them, and ended up shooting one of them. This also took place on September 27, 2006, which is the same date on which the alleged photo was taken before the incident. Its location in Colorado might also explain why people from the Midwest remember hearing about it on the news. But there are some major differences. Most notably, the Platte Canyon incident had nothing to do with a volleyball game, and there was only one death. But in saying all of that, the most likely scenario is that all of this is a hoax. While researching this incident, I came across an interesting post on the forum Above Top Secret from 2017. In this post, the OP was talking about creating a hoax in which multiple school shootings happened in 2006 in tiny towns, but any information relating to these incidents has been mysteriously erased from the public record. But if that's the case, the images that some ordinary gamer came across, where did they come from?
True.
Considering it's been over 7 years since this first contraction on the internet, it's unlikely we'll ever know the answer to this disturbing internet rabbit hole. Grave robbing for morons.
Oh my god, am I in here? I don't think I've ever been grave robbing, but I don't know, maybe we'll see.
On August 8, 2014, a user by the name Simon Pred J posted a video on YouTube titled Grave
Internet
for Morons. This was a digital re-upload of a very old VHS video, an extremely chilling one at that. In it, a young man goes into disturbing detail explaining step by step how to rob graves and sell the remains on the black market.
You know what? I'm gonna put this out there right now. If, let's see, if and when I ever die. Whenever I die, if you want to go and rob my grave, which I should not have a grave, I do not want a grave. But should you ever come across my earthly remains, sell that shit. I don't care. I ain't gonna be there. You know, make that money. Do whatever you can. I don't give a shit.
Grab it by the eyes or the nose. You pull out, put your finger all the way in. There is nothing there that will hurt you at all. Or you have to make sure of that. There's nothing that can hurt you. Do not be afraid. Pull it out like that. Do not pull it by the teeth, or else it'll break out like that, and you will have holes.
What makes this video even more unsettling isn't just its content, but the mystery surrounding it. No one knows who the man in the video is. To this day, his identity remains unknown, and no one has come forward to claim responsibility. This has left the internet in two fiercely opposing camps. Some believe this is authentic footage of a real grave robber. Others argue it's an obscure horror short crafted purely for shock value. Surprisingly, I came across evidence.
I mean, if what he said is true, it's clearly like not for shock value, because it was truthful, and he's like, oh, grab it here, and you're not going to get caught, whatever. So
that supports both sides of the argument while researching this topic. One undeniable fact, however, is that the original video is extremely old. The earliest mention of its title, Grave Robbing for Morons, I found on the internet was a now defunct online store for horror VHS tapes called Shocking Videos. This website listed the tape for sale in April of 2003, stating, "What we have here is genuine camcorder footage of a drunken teenage stutterer giving a half-hour lecture on how to steal body parts from graveyards for fun and profit while holding a fresh, rotting skull in his hands."
Is he drunk? I mean, I'm pretty familiar with drunkenness. He didn't seem drunk to me.
That said, the original video is likely from the late 80s. We can clearly see the VHS box for the 1987 Evil Dead 2 movie 5 minutes and 43 seconds into the video. And to narrow it down even more, there's an issue of Horror FX magazine visible in the bottom left corner at the same time. This specific cover was a part of a unique Fangoria horror magazine edition released in July 1989, which means the video was probably shot around that year. The horror memorabilia scattered throughout the footage implies that whoever created this video might have been a die-hard horror fan just trying to make something creepy for the thrill of it. And while most of the gruesome advice given in the video feels very authentic, like describing ways to remove the skull from a body that hasn't fully decomposed yet, there are also sections that seem extremely goofy. Like when the host suggests knocking out witnesses so they think it was all just a dream.
Never leave witnesses. If you have to knock them out so that way they think it's a dream.
This gives further credence to the theory that the subject doesn't have any real grave robbing experience and is just making it all up for the video. On the other hand, some people argue that the skull he's showing in the video is far too detailed to be fake. As for the inconsistency in the advice, that could be explained by the theory that this was likely his first time robbing a grave, and that he was simply making things up to seem more knowledgeable on the topic than he actually was. But this is where things start getting really eerie. Toward the end of the tape, the guy almost mumbles his full name, but stops himself before saying his entire last name.
Okay, this was made by Anthony. Well, as a matter of fact, let's forget the last name.
And in 1999, a man named Anthony Casamassima was arrested in New York for stealing an expensive stained glass window from a cemetery. There was a real possibility that this was the same person who made the grave robbing for Morons Guide. That being said, there are a few inconsistencies that say otherwise. For instance, I did not find any charges against Anthony Casamassima that mentioned him desecrating bodies. He was more into stealing valuable artifacts like stained.
Well, if he didn't get caught, it doesn't mean that it didn't happen. So if, like, the guy got caught for something, and it was, like, near the realm of I don't know, the subject that you're looking for, but if he didn't get caught, then, like, then I don't know. It's weird to be like, oh yeah, the guy got caught for this, and then we think it's for this, but then you're like, oh well, he never got caught for it, so he didn't do it. Like, that's a weird dichotomy to lay down. Like, that doesn't hold water for me. Like, it could be the guy, just because he wasn't caught for it and he never got charged for it doesn't mean that he never did it. It's a weird, like, logical
And
leap.
more importantly, Casamassima was 40 when he was arrested in 1999.
Okay.
If he made the tape, he would have been around 30 at the time.
I've seen people that look 30 that look like him.
However, given the young appearance of the video's subject, that seems highly unlikely.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I've seen a lot of young-looking 30-year-olds, but
I also found a couple more theories as well, but most of them lead to dead ends.
fair enough.
One such theory claims the guy in the video might be Craig A. Bradley, who was arrested in 1995 for stealing human remains from a cemetery in upstate New
You're a
York.
moron. What are you
Craig
talking
would have
like, this guy has a bunch of curly hair. I get it. Maybe he had cancer and got, like, the curly locks or whatever, curly cancer locks or whatever they're called.
been around 24 when the grave robbing video was filmed, which fits with the young appearance of the guy in the tape. Plus, he even looks a bit like him.
No, he doesn't.
However,
His hair is not curly.
the issue with this theory is that Craig doesn't have the stutter that was prominent in the original video.
Or the curly hair. Like, what are we even talking about?
In the winter months, I'm laid off. So winter months, I don't usually pay.
Dig for you and everything. So you dig and your friend digs, and then
Dude,
another
no. Like,
friend
what are
digs.
we
You have to find
talking
someplace
about
really
now?
secluded, so that way there's no interruptions. Okay.
Now, he could have faked the stutter in the original video for some reason. However, people on the internet find that extremely unlikely given how real it feels. Grave robber or actor, the stutter is real. I've known several people with really bad stutters, and it's such a specific, uncontrollable behavior that makes it hard to fake. This kid's stutter feels unique and authentic. I've never seen an actor in a movie fake a stutter that felt this real. It's possible one day the person seen in the video will come forward.
The hair does not match up. I'm sorry, man. I am very sorry, but no.
With the truth.
No.
But for now, we have no idea who the person is or
There's
whether
no
or not this
way.
extremely realistic looking grave robbing video is real. Strange sounds in the sky. Over the past
fair
50
enough.
plus years, there have been numerous reports of people hearing mysterious sounds coming from the sky. In some cases, the mysterious noise resembles the sound of screeching metal, like someone dragging heavy metal furniture across the floor.
It's some weird shit.
However, the most commonly reported noise is a low-frequency hum that persists in the area. Those who can hear these sounds describe them as omnipresent and extremely annoying. And according to the BBC, the humming noise has been linked to at least one person ending their own life in the UK. However, while there are likely many legit reports of people hearing a mysterious humming, which we'll get to in a bit, many of the claims are either fake or can be explained quite easily. For instance, the metallic screeching noise could simply be from a nearby railroad with a long freight train rounding a corner and causing vibrations. Some of these trains are incredibly lengthy and can take several minutes to pass.
Maybe.
Similarly, in another video you can hear what sounds like an extremely loud trumpet.
Fuck trumpets. Why not saxophones?
The original poster of this video titled this as a judgment trumpet, referring to the divine trumpet described in the Christian faith. However, given the poor weather conditions in the footage, it's likely just a malfunctioning tornado siren, like this.
I hate tornado sirens.
A few of these videos are also outright faked, with the mysterious sounds being edited in to generate views.
A nice cloudscape.
Notice how the birds around the area appear completely unaffected by the loud, ominous noise, which would be unlikely if the sound.
What is a bird? Hold on. What is a bird's hearing range? Avian hearing is most sensitive to 1 to 4 kilohertz. A species of bird is known to be sensitive, has shown sensitivity to ultrasonic frequencies above 20. So it's like 1,000 to 4,000 kilohertz. So we're talking like an A440 they can't even hear. The upper limit is usually 10,000. Lower limit, some birds can hear infrasonic below 20. Interesting. The cassowary can do 23. But most of them are like 1,000 to 4,000, which is a very narrow hearing
Sound was genuinely overwhelming the
So
environment.
that doesn't make sense.
Birds have
to
sharper hearing than humans, and they would likely react.
No, they don't. No, they don't. No, they don't. That is 150% false. I just looked it up. Humans can hear between like 20 and 20,000 hertz, like 20 and 20 kilohertz. Birds can hear from like 1 to 4 kilohertz. No, birds do not have sharper hearing than humans. It's 150% false.
That said,
It's
there are
alright.
still thousands of reports from people who can't be easily debunked or labeled as fake. Unlike the examples I've shown so far, the vast majority of seemingly authentic reports involve the persistent low-frequency hum. This strange phenomenon seems to trace back to Bristol, England in the late 1970s. The city council received hundreds of complaints from residents about a strange noise that was audible at night. One local newspaper even asked readers in the city, "Have you heard the hum?" and almost 800 people said they had. French scientists back then proposed that the sound might originate from the ocean, suggesting that continuous waves could be vibrating the ocean floor. Now, this explanation might have been true for Bristol, but as time went on, more and more people around the world started reporting these disturbing humming noises. And it appears the Bristol hum is still present to this day. There are many theories that attempt to explain the bizarre global phenomenon. And these can get into some truly out there conspiracies, like aliens or secret underground civilizations in the hollow earth. However, the most plausible explanation I found suggests that
I'm looking at it right now. It's a low frequency hum. Mid 1970s. Any 5G kit. Oh my god, they're talking about 5G conspiracies, and that is not anything has to do with anything. Do people not know like what the fuck frequency means? It's like it's 1/2 hertz. Like this, a low frequency hum, but they don't, just on the threshold of human hearing. Okay, so that means it's about a 20 hertz frequency. Birds can hear it, they don't hear that low. Oh, that's so stupid. People are so fucking dumb. I mean, I'm stupid. I get it, but like...
that these sounds are more connected to the listeners themselves rather than their surroundings. Things like hypersensitive ears and early signs of hearing issues like tinnitus could be a major contributor.
Tinnitus.
Another possible reason could be the increasing levels of anxiety and stress.
Yeah, well,
a BBC
we got
researcher
that.
also noted that she only heard the hum when she was exhausted and stressed out, which further supports the notion of this mysterious hum being a psychosomatic or stress-related phenomenon. During my research, I even found a video claiming to capture the strange humming sound. But when I watched it, there was nothing unusual, just regular environmental noise.
Well, your phone probably isn't gonna pick it up.
It's entirely possible that the person who recorded it was hearing something from inside their body, misinterpreting it as an external
True,
sound,
that
which further
too.
supports the stress-related theory.
Right.
However,
It's like whenever you hear yourself speak like I do. I hate it. Everyone hates their own voice.
this doesn't explain the hundreds or even thousands of other videos that do include the hum. And given the endless amounts of possibilities for each individual case, I doubt we'll get a concrete answer anytime soon.
Fair enough.
John Lang Fresno Police. On March 20th, 2015, a YouTube channel by the name Lang Marine uploaded a 3.5-minute video titled Fresno LE Harassment, Ford Crew Cab that stalked me and my residence numerous times. The video showed the same vehicle driving past the camera twice in 3 minutes. The uploader was a 51-year-old former Marine named John Lang living in Fresno, California. The video footage came from a security camera he had installed outside his home. And in the description of this video, he provided much-needed context behind the oddly disturbing encounter. According to Lang, he was critical of the way Fresno PD and Fresno Fire utilized their budgets online. So now they were stalking and harassing him in retaliation, and the Ford truck in the video belonged to either...
In Fresno, like California, is that not where that is? Texas, don't know. Do they not have better shit to do?
the Fresno Police Department or the Sheriff's Office. The next day, he posted another video of a man walking his dog outside his home. The video showed the dog and his owner stopping outside Lang's home for a few seconds and moving on, nothing too unusual. However, Lang claimed that the person in the video was a plainclothes police officer who was conditioning Lang's dog so that it wouldn't attack if the same officer broke into his home later. Over the next 10 or so months...
Wait, what? Hold on, let me hear that again.
Lang claimed that the person in the video was a plainclothes police officer who was conditioning Lang's dog so that it wouldn't attack if the same officer broke into his home later.
So there was an officer going around his house and stopping so his dog would like be familiar with him. So if he broke into the house, the dog wouldn't like bark or attack him or something.
Over the next 10 or so months, Lang continued posting videos of shady activity captured by his security camera, like a guy in plain clothes coming up to his home, taking a look and walking away immediately. Or a police truck stopping outside his home for a few seconds and then driving away. However, the most...
A little weird. It's a little weird. Okay. Whenever you get like one or two, whatever. But if you get a bunch of points that make a line, a little weird. Okay, I'll bite.
disturbing of these videos showed a mysterious black van stopping outside his home, filming it with a massive camera for about 30 seconds.
Okay, that's a big point. That's a pretty big data point. That's kind of fucked up.
And quickly drove
I don't
away.
know. Oh.
Lang claimed that the device in their hand was a thermal imaging sensor, and they were trying to determine whether or not he was home.
Buzzball?
By January of 2016, Lang was fully
pretty good.
convinced that the Fresno police were planning an assassination. On the 16th of January, he posted a video about a cleaning company van parked outside his home. In the description of the video, he wrote, "If I turn up missing or dead tomorrow, remember this van. I think I seen a couple of guys sneak out the side door and into the building when it was parked in the carport this afternoon. I've been causing the city of Fresno a lot of problems recently, which I now regret."
What the fuck did he do?
Unfortunately, this would be the last video Lang would post on YouTube.
Oh shit, he's dead. Okay.
Because just a few days later, firemen found him dead inside a burning home with
My god, I said he died like it's a joke. He actually fucking did die. Oh my god.
multiple stab wounds on his body. This was sad news for people who were following the story. However, this was only the beginning of a much bigger conspiracy. You see, when the news of his death initially broke, the reports stated that he had a few stab wounds on his upper back as well.
You don't just have a few oh yeah, I got a few stab wounds back there. It's nothing, don't worry about it.
If this were true, it would validate all of Lang's worries about getting assassinated. This would also put the Fresno PD as the #1 suspect for his murder. However, when the Fresno coroner released Lang's autopsy report, it only mentioned 3 self-inflicted stab wounds on his chest, and there was no mention of any stab wounds on his back.
Dude,
was the earlier report a mistake, or were the Fresno...
Dude, how do you have stab wounds on your chest? Like, your chest is like sternum. At least my chest is mostly sternum. Like, you have stab wounds on your lungs are right here. You got your sternum, your heart, your fucking like liver at the bottom of your sternum, and then you have your like. There's no way to get a stab wound without like fatally injuring yourself.
There's no police trying to hide their crime. This inconsistency led to tons of backlash and even a petition to reopen his case, but it remained closed. To this day, the John Lang case sits as a mystery. Was he actually getting stalked, or was he just severely mentally ill and paranoid? From my research, the answer seems to be a mix of both. First and foremost, it's worth mentioning that the Fresno police are well known for being ripe with corruption. A Reddit user mentioned a story he knew about the PD, stating, "I mean, my friend's dad was FPD for decades, and Jerry Dyer showed up with some officers and threatened him back in the late 90s, so it wouldn't surprise me if the cops were intimidating this dude." So, did the Fresno PD retaliate against Lang? Maybe. What's more likely is that Lang was getting more paranoid and losing his mind over time.
Dude, it's some weird shit, okay? Because it was like 2-3 years ago, me and my then girlfriend, like, we went out on a Valentine's Day. It was like February 14th, and we got pulled over with me outside of my house, and we knew they were following us, right? But we didn't do anything wrong. Like, we literally went to eat at a bar, and then we went to another bar to do some like karaoke or whatever, and we went back home. Right, we came back to my house, and like, we saw them. Because she was driving, I got out, I went in, got out, and we hear this like fucking banging on the door or whatever. It's like, what? I'm not gonna answer. We didn't do anything wrong. Like, we went to dinner, we had a fun time, karaoke kind of thing, and then we came home. But we went out there, and he's like, "Oh yeah, blah blah blah," and they're like, "Come out, whatever," and I did. We both did, and it's like, "Oh yeah, get behind, put your hands behind your back, get behind my cop car or whatever." It's like, yeah, we got reports of 2 people climbing on this some construction site. I'm like, climbing what? Because the girl that I dated, she's bigger lady or whatever, and she ain't climbing, and I have no muscle mass to climb. Look at my fucking arms right here. I have no mass on my arms to climb. It's like, and I told him, like, what are you talking about? You think we were climbing on some kind of construction site? And he was like, "Oh," and he did all this. If I was black, I'd probably be dead right now. He'd probably shot me because I would have been black, in Texas and racism and everything. But anyway, yeah, it's like, dude, cops are super fucking shady, man. Don't trust them. When I was in college, I was in charge of the observatory. We had a 41-inch, 16-inch, 18-inch telescope, all kinds of domes and shit. And I was coming back, and I got stopped, and I got pulled out of my car because I have, or my truck at the time, because I have long hair, and they thought I had like drugs in my car or whatever. And I was like, "Hey, I'm running the observatory right now. I'm a grad student." Like, "Oh yeah, blah blah blah." And I was like, "Yeah, go ahead and call Dr. Bruton." And I took his fucking like card out or whatever. "Oh, we're sorry, whatever." Dude, cops are so fucking shady. fuck cop. Like I'm an ACAB person. Every interaction I've ever had with cops has been awful because they think they're like God men or whatever, and I have long hair, therefore I must be like some kind of coke dealer or drug pushers. It's so fucking dumb, dude. Cops are like fucking corrupt as shit. Sorry.
From what I can see, the man walking his dog is doing just that, walking his dog, and claiming that he was somehow conditioning Lang's dog in just a couple of seconds is pretty out there. Even the suspicious van can be explained quite easily since the device shown in the video was just a film camera on a gimbal, not some high-tech thermal imaging sensor. As for why they were shooting like that from a vehicle, they were likely indie filmmakers who just didn't have the proper permissions from the city.
They were likely indie filmmakers. I mean, maybe they were. To be fair, maybe they were. But also maybe they weren't. Right? You can make up a million different kind of reasons of why they were or were not. You know, every reason that you give of why they weren't harassing you, I could give one why they were. So it's pointless to argue it. Nobody knows.
However, all of this is just conjecture on my part.
Exactly.
The real evidence that proves Lang's
everyone's
deteriorating
part.
mental state is the fact that he turned off the cameras he had in his home a day before the incident. The last saved footage on these cameras was of him sitting with a kitchen knife in his hand. Not only that, but when the fire department arrived on the scene, all the entrances to his home were barricaded securely from the inside. If this was truly a murder, the killer wouldn't have been able to escape the crime scene without removing one of these barricades. Ultimately, if there was some big murder conspiracy behind Lang's death, I doubt we'll learn about it over 8 years later.
Yeah. It's done. Doesn't matter.
Evil
Completely
Stick.
pointless.
In November of 2014, Nicole Allen purchased a pink princess wand for her 2-year-old daughter at the dollar store in Linden Avenue in Kettering. The name of the wand was Evil Stick, which is quite bizarre on its own, but likely went unnoticed by Nicole. However, the stick also promised things like luster, beauty, and wonderful music. The box art also featured the character Sakura Kinomoto, who is the protagonist of a popular Japanese animated show called Cardcaptor Sakura.
Yep.
In the show, Sakura is essentially a magical princess. So the inclusion
I used to watch that.
of just a cute-looking character made Nicole drop her guard even further. But she couldn't have been more wrong. The thing is, the inclusion of this character on the box art suggested an Asian origin for the product. And looking back, the Evil Stick does have a...
Does it? Does it? I don't know. Because it has an anime character, it must be of Asian origin. Or they made the product.
Small, and I do mean small, resemblance to one of the wands Sakura uses in the show. The Evil Stick was most definitely a bootleg version of a product that should have looked something like this had it been official. However, the Evil Stick was much more sinister than just being a bad product. Unlike its official counterparts, the manufacturers of the Evil Stick bootleg had free reign to do whatever they wanted. And it's what they chose to do with this freedom that was utterly disturbing.
What are they talking about? They made it a bootleg like, what? Sure. Okay, what did they do?
The top of the wand had a shiny foil fitted in, likely to imitate the shiny star in the official wand. However, this foil was hiding an image under it, and when Nicole's daughter accidentally removed the foil while playing with the wand, she was greeted with a downright disturbing image of a creepy-looking woman slitting her own wrist. This was likely petrifying for the little girl, but that wasn't all.
Fucked up.
If you pressed the button on the wand, instead of the wonderful music it promised, the wand played a haunting laugh. This also turned on a light behind the creepy image, so the little girl would have likely seen it even if she hadn't removed the foil.
I mean, yeah. Okay. Sure, yeah.
When
he keeps doing it, and I keep wanting to buy it more.
Nicole found out about the disturbing truth, she made her findings public in hopes of getting this creepy toy banned from stores. News coverage of the Evil Stick quickly went viral, but the toy remained as mysterious as it was creepy. And the disturbing image concealed within the toy was traced back to French photographer Butcher Ludwig, who appears to be a master of creating the most nightmarish artworks one can imagine. Nearly all of his work is too graphic for YouTube. For most of them, however, even
We'll-
a quick glance is enough to trigger your
we'll
fight or
see
flight
about
response.
that.
As for why the gory, horror-filled work of his photograph was stolen to be included in a children's toy, no one knows for sure. The only other thing people learned about the evil stick...
Is this too graphic for YouTube? I don't know that it is or isn't. I don't know what this is. I'd like it to go away. Tumblr. Okay, somebody. Okay. Somebody. Alright. This is too graphic for YouTube, really? I don't know. That one's kind of neat. No, wait. I was on their Tumblr. I don't know. I mean, that one seems like what they want. Like, is it too graphic for YouTube? I don't think it is. I think this is fairly mild, the shit that I've seen. I don't know. Maybe I'll be banned off of YouTube tomorrow. Who knows? Right?
After examining his package was that it was manufactured in China, and that's it. The packaging didn't have the name of the manufacturer. I even looked up the universal product code embedded in its barcode and couldn't find any relevant information through that either. This is just one of those things that really makes you wonder what other disturbing mysteries are hidden inside cheap children's toys.
I mean, sure, but to be real, it wasn't that crazy, right? Like, this wasn't. There's some other Nick Crowley stuff that I had not watched yet that I do want to take a look at. Did I not? Have I not seen this? I'm sure I watched all of the Darkest videos, right? I must have. Okay. Well, there's some shit that I like clearly haven't. I've watched Mr. Swirl. That's a thing. That's a really fucked up one. Kind of want to go into the backlog, like the backlog of these. I remember when this happened. Have I not watched? I feel like I've watched this, but maybe not. I remember when this happened live. It's 3 years ago. Some
Nature
weird shit.
gathering its forces for still another unending assault on man.
1-800 Embassy for Res.
It sounds like it came right out of a zombie movie.
Computers are living in open basements. Go below and stay below ground level.
Disturbing.
Tornado warning.
Dude, I
April 9th,
go through
2015.
like 5 tornado warnings a year. Texans, whenever we hear tornado warnings, we go outside to see if we can see the fun.
A tornado begins to form during the evening hours in the small town of Franklin Grove, Illinois, quickly growing larger and larger by the minute, to the point of reaching an unprecedented size for the area. Miles away in the town of Fairdale, 67-year-old Geraldine Schultz spotted the vortex forming in the distance.
Oh, yeah?
Worried, she called her husband Clem into the kitchen, where the two would stand while...
Oh, I know what this one is. I know what this one is. This one's kind of fucked. This one's
watching the tornado out their window. For the couple,
Yeah, well,
tornadoes
yeah,
were nothing new,
they're awesome.
and Clem was quickly able to determine that the storm would likely miss them to the east. But just to be safe, he went upstairs.
Though I will tell you a small story. I was living in Euless here in Texas. It's kind of in between Dallas and Fort Worth, kind of like between them, Irving, Euless, Hearst, Bedford, all that. And we did have a tornado. tornado touchdown. And I went outside to see it. We lived on the 3rd floor of an apartment building. And my wife is asleep or whatever, at the time anyway. And I went outside because I hear the and this is the most fucked up shit. I hear the tornado like sirens and alarms and stuff. I'm like, oh shit, all right. I'm gonna go outside and see if I can't see myself a tornado. Because, whatever. Lightning, thundering, rain going sideways and everything. And I go out there and I'm looking, obviously very, very windy shit happening. And it's been the first and only time in my life where I like got thrown back against the wind hit me and it was very windy and I got thrown back against the wall and I'm like, okay. I'm gonna say fuck this and I'm gonna go inside. Because shit was getting a little bit too real. That's the only time that I've been like in and or near a tornado and I'm like, okay. I got picked up off my feet and thrown back against the wall. I think it's about time to go inside. So yeah. There's that, but most of the time
There's to grab some lanterns
I
in
want
the
to see a
likely
tornado.
event of a power outage. Upon doing so, Clem would catch a glimpse of the tornado outside the bedroom window, having grown significantly
I don't even know
closer.
if one like
Its wind
actually
speeds
touched
were well
down
over
when that
200
happened,
miles an
but
hour, and having been classified as an EF4,
some
it
pretty
was
big
the
wind.
largest twister the area had ever seen. In awe of its size, Clem began to record
That's a
out the
big
window,
tornado.
still certain
That's a
that the
big one.
storm was heading east.
I think I've seen this, and I think he's about to say, like, oh, it's not getting any bigger or any smaller. Like he couldn't see it moving, and whenever you see a tornado and you do not see it moving left or right, that means that it's probably coming towards you or away from you, and that is not a good thing. Let's see if I remember this right.
But unfortunately, he was wrong. And in reality, the powerful storm was heading directly towards him.
I think that's
By the
right.
time Clem would realize
I
this,
haven't.
it was far too late. There was no time to run, and not a chance to hide.
Well, you
All
better
he could do
fucking
was
try.
stand there helplessly and watch.
You better fucking try to run and hide. Yep. It's coming towards you. We got cows. Yeah. If I remember this right, and I maybe I have watched this. I don't know if I have. I don't really remember, but I kind of do remember because I do watch tornado videos like quite often. I think this guy made it because he was on the second story, but his wife or whatever didn't. If this is what I'm thinking of.
It was a direct hit as the EF4 tornado tore through the house before Clem could even say a word, quickly turning the home that had once stood there for 100 years to dust.
Damn, that's a nice home too.
Say a word, quickly turning the home that had.
It looks like my grandparents' house. They had like a porch that wrapped around. Damn, it's a big, nice old house.
Once stood there for 100 years to dust and rubble, and buried beneath it all was Clem, along with his wife of 25 years.
Shit, it's awful.
They got fire rescue on the way.
Against all odds, Clem would somehow survive, pulling.
This is wild, right? Like he was on the second floor and he went up there to like videotape the tornado, and his wife was like down the first floor, like in shelter, and she didn't make it. But he did, like on second floor. It's wild.
Pulling himself up from the field of debris.
Yeah.
It was a
He got
storm that
thrown
would go
there.
on to destroy numerous homes and
It's
take the
wild.
lives of 2 people, one of whom was Clem's neighbor and good friend Jacqueline Closa, who lived in the house that Clem had filmed being destroyed just moments before it
Dude,
struck
oh my
him,
God.
and the other being Geraldine,
Wild.
Clem's wife and best friend. Days following the disaster, a family member who had been searching the area for anything salvageable would stumble across Clem's phone, which miraculously was still working. And on it would be the now infamous video that showed the point of view of a man being struck head-on by a tornado, and somehow surviving. The imagery,
Crazy
the sounds, and the context make this clip one of the most shocking I have ever seen, as well as one of the darkest across all of YouTube.
The tornado has passed. Capricious, swift, savage.
Yep, don't fuck with tornadoes.
Before we move on to the next video,
Or
I want to
do, I
briefly
don't-
thank
I'm not
today's
your
sponsor,
mom, I don't give a
Casetify.
shit.
I, like
Do
many of
whatever
you
you
out
want.
there, have had a long history of dropping my phone and cracking the screen, which is a pain to fix and not to mention very expensive. But luckily, Casetify is here to help. Casetify is a tech accessory brand that makes high-quality cases for phones and AirPods, along with a number of other accessories. Their impact cases are my personal favorite though, as they're engineered with a 2-layer construction of Qi tech, which makes it drop test approved for drops up to 6.5 feet.
The fuck is
These cases
Qi
come in a
tech?
ton of unique designs for whatever style you're into, and you can even customize them with your name or a monogram. It's a great blend of protection and personality, and it's actually protective in more ways than one, as these cases have an antimicrobial coating, which kills 99% of bacteria. And best of all, they're
Who
more
cares?
sustainable than most cases on the
Nobody
market,
cares.
as they're made out of 50% recycled materials. So if you're interested in trying out Casetify for yourself, then head over to casetify.com/Nick Crowley, and you'll receive 15% off your brand new phone case.
A new high-tech way to find out who's at the door.
With a video doorbell, you'll never miss a visitor.
Oh, I remember when this happened. I watched this on another, like, live stream show kind of thing. This is fucked up. This is some fucked up shit.
In the past few years, the world has seen a boom in the use of doorbell cameras,
This
mainly
is some
because of
weird
instances
shit.
like this.
Oh, they got a camera.
Yeah, everybody got a camera now.
Capturing and exposing criminals in the act, from the most petty of thieves all the way to attempted murderers and kidnappers.
Yeah, everyone did.
Due to their knack for capturing disturbing encounters, the videos that have emerged from these devices have practically carved out their own genre here on YouTube, to the point that many, including myself, have almost become desensitized to them.
Oh, yeah.
But recently, a
You
video
watch
began
so
making the
many.
rounds, showing the
It's
events that
whatever.
transpired at a Las Vegas home on the evening of July 21st, 2021, and it proved to be one of the most chilling I have ever seen.
This
It
is a
happened
fucked
around
up
8
one.
p.m.,
If you
where a
haven't
young
seen it-
lady had been working in her kitchen, waiting for her husband to return home from work. It was another 100-degree day in Vegas, and likely in an attempt to cool down, she would open her window to let the evening breeze in. Unbeknownst to her, this harmless decision would lead to a terrifying series of events. Outside of the home, a man had been wandering the suburban streets aimlessly, roaming throughout the neighborhood before stopping in his tracks. In front of him
I would
was
live in
the open
Vegas.
window and a clear view
think it
of the
would be
woman
wild.
inside.
I'd
It was a
totally do
chance
it.
sighting that would lead to the man approaching the house and ringing the doorbell, where the camera would begin to record.
Some wild shit.
Are you sure? I just rang your doorbell because I have a couple questions for you. Are you sure? I just rang your doorbell because I have a couple questions for you. Are you sure? What? Are you sure?
I think this guy has probably had some kind of like alcoholic psychosis or alcoholic hallucinations. Because he doesn't seem to be like hopped up on PCP or something. What the hell, Smokey? What are you talking about? That did not pop up. What are you up to? You've trooped something.
I just rang your doorbell because I have a couple questions.
Oh, that's on Discord, not on Twitter or Twitch.
The man stands there ringing the doorbell
Some
and
weird
knocking at the
shit.
door, repeating the same sentences
How did that
over
pop
and
up?
over again, calmly stating that he
Interesting.
just wants to ask a few questions. However, the
Some
woman
fucked up
inside had
shit.
never met this man. In fact, she had never seen him before this moment. And to make it all stranger, she didn't respond to anything the man was saying, and was out of his line of view as he peeked through the door. So the phrases that he was
Some
saying
weird
were
people
not in
out
response to anyone, and instead, he was speaking to himself. Fearing for her safety, the woman inside didn't open the door or engage him at all, leading the man to
Empson
take things
family.
a step further.
Are you positive? I just have a couple questions for you. Are you sure? Are you positive? Are you sure?
That's so funny.
Are you absolutely certain?
He begins trying to open the door, but
shit.
thankfully it was locked,
Yeah.
causing the strange man to start walking away, cursing under his breath.
So I don't think the guy was like hopped up on any amphetamines or anything. He was like way too chill to be like that. The only thing I can think of is like some kind of alcoholic hallucination, which I've had. I don't recommend it. Don't recommend.
The footage
drinking
is
alcohol
incredibly
to that
off-putting,
extent.
and although the man seems
Although I didn't do anything like this, I actually called the cops on myself because I thought people were breaking into my home, trying to geocache.
to stay perfectly calm, there was something
Could be,
very
yeah. Maybe.
aggressive and erratic about the way he was speaking, making one wonder what his true intentions were when he approached the house. As the man begins to walk away, the woman's husband,
Some
still at work, would
fucked
chime
up
in through the
shit.
doorbell after noticing the situation begin to unfold,
Uh-huh.
which in turn would lead to the man revealing why he was ringing the doorbell.
You wanted to kill her.
So who are you?
What? Yeah? Are you sure?
Who are you?
Hey, I just had a couple questions. I just wanted to ask you about TV show. Yeah, can you hear me? What I'm looking for is for the girl that's in the house to come out here because I'm going to rape her and kill her.
I'm gonna rape her and kill
Can
her.
I have her open the door?
Hmm?
Rape and kill the girl that's on the other side of this door when she lets me in.
It was no secret what he had planned for that evening. He outright says it, even revealing that he had the weapons to make it happen.
I want to rape her
Some
so I have a
fucked up.
knife and a gun. Yeah, and I'm going to knock on her door again.
If that woman had opened the door,
Nope.
or if that door had been unlocked, well, we
Yeah, it
know
would have
what
been
would
bad.
happened. But
Would have been a bad
thankfully,
time.
neither of those situations played out, and instead the man walked away muttering the same phrases over and over again.
It was some kind of like psychosis.
Even staring at the house for a few moments before finally disappearing into the night. Police were called to the area moments later, but the man was nowhere to be found. As quickly as he had entered this couple's life, he was
I mean, it's like if you were that girl, or if I were that girl, or whatever, or if I was that girl's husband or boyfriend or whatever the fuck he was, I would have tried to engage in dialogue like he did, but to keep that guy there until the cops came there to get him. Or that, yeah, I mean, if you got a chainsaw inside your house, rep that shit up and come out like goddamn Jason Voorhees. For
was
sure,
now gone,
100%.
leaving them with the reality that at any moment he could return.
Yeah,
Scared
I
for her
don't
life,
know.
the
That's-
lady
that's some
posted the
fucked
clip
up shit,
online,
yeah.
where it would quickly go viral across YouTube, which honestly may have ended up saving a life. The following day, a viewer of the video would recognize the same man walking in another residential area, in one that was not too far away from the house where the encounter took place. And after the police were called, the man would be quickly arrested before he could play out his disturbing fantasy.
That's good.
When confronted and asked for
I
his
didn't know
name,
he was
the man
arrested,
would simply
that's good.
state that he was the Holy Spirit
Yeah,
and said
well, of
nothing more,
course.
though his real name was
I mean, obviously, right? The dude was the Holy Spirit.
revealed to
Everyone
be
knows
Christopher Sums, a man who had passed charges of stealing, assaulting, and intimidating a
Orion.
witness, with his mugshot being nothing short of
that.
completely
Is that guy the Holy
haunting.
Spirit?
But what I found most surprising was the fact that he didn't always look like this. In fact, just a few years ago, he looked completely normal. And according to his LinkedIn, he had a fairly impressive work history and what seemed to be a good life. Until
I'm sorry, but a few years ago, dude had a good work history, looked like a normal dude. I mean, say what you want about, like, the Joker, but it just takes one bad day. And people don't want to believe it, and then when people don't believe it, I just show them shit like this. That's my evidence, is that it happens.
he had a fairly impressive work
So,
history and
you
what
know,
seemed to be a
just
good
saying.
life, until for whatever
Don't
reason,
trust anyone.
things spiraled in the wrong direction.
Yep.
As it stands, Christopher is being evaluated to see if he is mentally fit to stand trial, as many believe that he likely suffers from some kind of psychological condition, hence the repeating phrases and the strange behavior. Though his blatant and rapid change in appearance might also point to heavy drug use or even a combination of both. But regardless of what was behind his behavior that day,
Something
the
bad
situation
happened.
and the subsequent video is haunting and could have been so much worse had that door been opened.
Are you sure?
I feel like everyone's out to get me.
Hello, this is Tababa Mukonnen.
The baby Mackinac incident. I don't know. I'm not familiar.
YouTube is a site that draws in people from all walks of life, each with their own unique motivation for starting up their channels. Some are in it for the money and the fame, while
Not
others
me.
are in it for the love of creating content.
Yeah,
But
well.
sprinkled throughout the site
Do I love creating content? Sure. Am I in it for the money and the fame? Yeah, sure. Yeah, as much as anyone, right? I'm in it for the me not being alone aspect, which is not the most healthy way of being in for something.
are a select few who come here to feel heard and to get something off their
Well,
chest.
I guess
Something
that-
that for 27-year-old Tabebe Mukonnen would be his primary motivation for posting his first and only video on March
Okay.
17th, 2018.
What you got for me,
Tabebe had
Tabebe?
struggled his whole life with mental illness, suffering from both schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. These mental illnesses led to an event in 2013 where he would wander off from his home unprovoked. Outside, he began to walk for miles, essentially in a daze, before finding himself in what he described as a very dangerous part of town. Thankfully, Tabebe would be safely found before anything had happened to him, but this incident would prove to be life-changing, as it would lead to his hospitalization due to his unpredictable and dangerous behavior. This would also start a long spell of being given heavy medication to help with his schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. Over the course of the next 4 years,
Don't they like not call it schizophrenia anymore? It's like a dissociative identity disorder, DID. Like schizophrenia is not like technical anymore.
Tabebe would find himself in and out of the hospital and
I don't
prescribed a variety of powerful antipsychotic drugs, something that would consume his life as he felt like he was no longer in control of his actions. And feeling trapped, he would turn to YouTube to share his story.
Yeah.
Hello, this is Tababa Mukonnen. I'm talking and putting this video because I wanted to bring awareness to a situation
I
that I'm dealing
already
with
knew
that's
that. Everyone knew that.
very painful.
This
I was
is not new
hospitalized
information.
June 25th, 2013.
We all knew that.
I went there to supposedly get an IV. I ended up being forced to take medication, and it was pure hell. They gave me Haldol, Risperidol, and they were forcing antipsychotics down my throat. It was
Right.
absolute torture and hell.
In the 10-minute video, Tebebe made it clear that he was not consenting to this medical treatment, and he explained how the medication he was forced to take made him feel like a zombie, even saying that it had gotten so bad that he had thoughts of taking his own life.
Oh, yeah.
It was bad. It was really bad, and I had suicidal ideation.
Throughout the clip, Tebebe comes across as intelligent and well-spoken, but traces of his illness shine through periodically. For instance, he explains how immediately after being released from the hospital on multiple occasions, he would wander away from his home, even attempting to be homeless for a
Dude, that's like the fucking... That's the premise for the the X-Files Simpsons episode, where Mr. Burns gets the fucking whatever he does, and then they just let him wander off into the forest. They think he's a goddamn alien.
For a while admitting that he didn't know why this was an issue, or why it would always lead to him going back to the hospital.
I got off.
Yeah.
And I think I had another episode, as they like to say, where I said I wanted to be homeless. That's it. All I said was I wanted to be homeless. So, and I proceeded to be homeless. And next thing I know, the cops
Follow
came
your dreams,
and
for sure.
they arrested me and they took me back to the hospital. Then after that, I left and I tried to be homeless again, and I was hospitalized again.
But things would be further escalated as Tebebe casually explains how he has violent outbursts, even resorting to punching multiple people who were trying to give him medication, as well as starving himself in retaliation.
So I started getting violent, and I started punching people, and I started attacking people in the hospital.
I've never attacked a person
and
in
they
my
had
life.
to tie me down. I began to lash out, like, I'm going to protest this. I'm going to starve myself as a way of hopefully stopping this ridiculous forced treatment for absolutely nothing.
And by the end of the video, Tebebe flat out explains that
fair.
he does not have any sort of mental illness, or have any symptoms for that matter, calling what was happening to him an injustice.
I guess I'm just trying to let you guys know the injustice that goes on.
It's a truly depressing situation, as on one hand he is being forced to take medication that essentially makes him feel dead inside, while on the other hand it seems very
Just get a
apparent
divorce
that
with
treatment
someone
is
you've known for
necessary to
15
not only
years.
keep others around him, but
That'll make you
himself
dead
safe,
inside.
as he doesn't seem fully aware of how serious some of his actions are. Tebebe concluded the video by asking those watching what they thought of his situation, and though it didn't garner many views, a select few would stumble upon it and agree with his stance that the treatment he was receiving was unlawful, with many insinuating that he should continue to protest and not take his medication. These comments
I don't know
are
about that.
unfortunately no longer available, as
mean,
just a few
maybe.
weeks ago the video was removed, but they had been reflected across multiple sites as people called out the commenters for essentially
Drug him
trying
up,
to
shut
convince
him
someone
up,
to go
make
off his
him
medication
comply.
cold turkey, and doing so without knowing the true extent of his medical history, which obviously is irresponsible and potentially very dangerous.
Right.
But unfortunately, these conflicting viewpoints came years later, and in that time surrounding the video's release, Tebebe had likely found the verification he was looking for. He was going to keep protesting his medication. This video would be the first and last that we would ever hear from Tebebe, but it wouldn't be the last we'd hear of him. Just 2 months following the video,
him.
Tebebe would make the local news after having an encounter at the hospital. There, a therapist entered his room to talk with him, when suddenly Tebebe snapped, grabbing her and refusing to let go, while performing lewd gestures toward her, and eventually pinning her on the ground, refusing
not
to let
good.
her go.
That's not
The
good.
situation
Don't
led
do
to
that.
Tebebe being arrested for sexual battery, but no jail time was ever given, as instead, a plea deal was reached where Tebebe agreed to stay in the hospital, and most importantly, he agreed to go back on his medication and take it as prescribed. It's this note that hints at the idea that he had likely gone off his medication before this incident, something that would have directly led to his violent outburst.
I
And
don't
given
think
the
you
event's
need Tebebe
proximity to the
pills.
video that he had just posted, and the comments supporting his desire to stop taking his medication, it's not hard to theorize that Tebebe may have cut off his meds due to the advice of his comment section, or at the very least was further convinced that it was the right thing to do.
Sure.
Regardless, it seemed clear that the inconsistencies with his medication had caused him to lose control, and this wouldn't be the last time.
Oh shit.
In the summer of 2019,
Plot twist.
Tebebe was staying at an Embassy Suites hotel with his mother Zalem Abje, who had been caring for him around the clock. He had been moved there from the hospital as part of his treatment plan, as it kept him close by and easy to monitor regularly, but it also made him free of being cooped up in a hospital room, which clearly he didn't enjoy. The change of scenery was likely supposed to calm Tebebe and his growing anger issues, but unfortunately, his violent outbursts did not stop there. On August 20th at 1:30 a.m., Tebebe would get into an altercation with his mother in their hotel room. It's not clear what had started the arguments, but things would quickly turn physical, as Tebebe started to shove his mother, pushing her so hard that it would knock her out of the room, and then onto their balcony. Their room was on one of the top floors of the hotel.
That's
and it
not
overlooked
good.
the lobby down below. And
Whenever you hear this person knocked their, in this case, mother or whatever, on the balcony, and then you hear the narrator say, well, they were one of the top floors, that's not good.
in one more violent outburst, Tebebe would give one final push, this time knocking her all the way over the railing, causing her to plummet to the ground below. She did not survive the impact.
Well, no fucking shit.
Tebebe Mokanen was arrested at the scene and held at a holding center where he remains to this day awaiting his trial, though his crime is clear, and it's likely he will spend the rest of his life either behind bars or in some kind of institution. The events that happened on that
Hold on.
Tebebe Mokanen was arrested at the scene.
Makonnen. Tebebe. There it is. Tebebe Mokanen update. Here, look at this. This is why you watch Evan Glaire's stream, and whenever we go and look at shit that's like 3 years old, we're gonna keep up with it. 27 has been, or maybe not. We're gonna try anyway. But can't promise anything. Hold on. He avoided jail sentence. Tebebe Mokanen charged with murder. Death after a woman's death at the embassy suites. Avoided thanks to a plea deal. The victim, that was his mother, right? Yeah, identified as his mother, 63-year-old. Commonwealth felt it was important that mental health treatment be a component of any disposition. Our office agreed to amend sexual battery to disorderly conduct, agreed recommendation of 12 months in jail. All suspended for a year with the other conditions that the defendant remain compliant with the mental health treatment of the supervision of Arlington Department of Human Services. 2020. Okay. That was a while ago. That was 29. It's 5 years. 6 years ago. Well, not quite 6 years, but AP's kids, yeah. I played that game. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And held at a holding center where he remains to this day awaiting his trial.
Not to
Though
this
his
day.
crime is clear, and it's likely he will spend the rest of his life either behind bars or in some kind of institution.
That is 100% not what happened. So
the events that
it's
happened
a
on that
big
fateful
L for
morning
Nick
are
on that
still
one.
somewhat unknown to this day, though we do know the events that led up to it, and the years of hurt and anger that Tebebe had built up, as well as his inconsistent and dangerous use of antipsychotics, which, unsurprisingly, it appears that he had again attempted to take himself off of his meds in the time surrounding his murderous fit, with this being used as the likely reason for his behavior that day, something that was telegraphed in one single video, which, looking back, almost foreshadows the tragic events that were soon to come, events that may have been further spurred on by the viewers watching him.
Chapter 3, Alive. Buried alive.
Our next video takes us across the world to the Philippines in mid-July 2014. The story begins on a tragic note, as a family says their goodbyes to their 3-year-old daughter.
Not a
In the
fan.
days prior,
Don't
the young
like
girl
it.
had developed a severe fever, and without access to an up-to-date medical facility, she would pass away in the morning hours on July 12th. With
Why are
no
we
pulse
starting
and
off
no
with
heartbeat,
this? This
the
is
little girl
awful.
was pronounced dead and taken home to prepare for the funeral, which would be held the next day. It was obviously a somber event, as the girl was placed in her casket and the lid was shut. Family members and loved ones gathered around to celebrate the short life of a child who deserved so
Why would
much
you
more,
celebrate that?
and watch as she was
Like,
placed
I know
into
what
the
they
ground,
mean, but
which would
still,
be her final resting place.
Don't like
But
that.
before that
It's a
would
bad
happen,
way of
one of the
putting that.
neighbors had been in charge of arranging the young girl's body before burial.
It's
Though
not a great
something
way of
strange
putting that,
happened
Nick.
when he went to do so. Inside the coffin, the young girl's head began to move. It was a slight twitch, but in a panic, the neighbor checked for a pulse, only to discover that her heart was still beating, and the young girl was breathing. One of the family members begins to record as the sudden wave of realization hits that the child was actually alive. It's the ultimate case of what if. Had that person not opened the casket to reposition the body, then that little girl would have been buried alive, and no one would have ever known. It's a clip that I'm sure many of you have seen by now, as the original video itself has garnered over 1 million views. And topping that, a news station that covered the story currently sits with 25 million views. It's one of the
What? Why did 8,000 people downvote this? Oh, I hate humanity. When's that fucking meteor coming?
more viral horror stories that I've ever seen on YouTube, as seemingly everyone knows about this infamous video.
I
and
didn't.
rightfully so. I mean, it's one of the craziest stories I have ever seen,
Well,
both
thanks
on
for making me
YouTube
feel
or
like
in
a
the
piece
news.
of shit. I didn't know.
But the only problem is, this viral video didn't tell the whole story.
It wasn't real. It was like a setup.
The story itself does in fact appear to be true, having been confirmed by Philippine
Okay.
officials who admitted that a
Okay.
mistake
All
had
right.
been made in
Fair
that
enough.
particular hospital, which led to
Fair
the
enough.
mix-up and almost to the mistaken burial. But the story doesn't have the happy ending that many of us thought, as in reality, that child never actually woke up. She did have a pulse and shallow breathing, but she would never regain consciousness and remained in a comatose state. In fact, just 2 days after this video was taken, and on the 15th of July, she would once again be pronounced dead, this time for real. But looking back on the viral
not
video viewed by millions, the anchors say that she was fine, calling it a miracle.
Happy tears, knowing that the thankfully she's
Oh, no.
fine. I'm glad they opened
No,
the casket.
she's not
so she
fine.
could
Yeah.
Move around.
Now, it may be possible that they just
That's
didn't
not
know this
good.
at the time, as based off of the way they're talking, it seems like the report
Shut
would
up,
have
my
came
bad.
out the day or the day after the
Yeah.
child was found alive. Only, that's not true either.
Let me guess. They got the news weeks later, and nobody updated them in the time that she probably died between the time that they got the revival remark and it made its way to the news people, and she probably died before it went online, but nobody like updated them. Let's see if I'm right.
as the child was determined to be alive on the 13th of July and once again pronounced dead on the 15th.
And
just
they
2 days
reported it
later.
after
Yet this video
the
was
15th.
published a full